Subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Synopsis, Sawamura Eijun, a relief pitcher in the pro league after 10 years of hard work and still couldn't achieve his dreams, woke up back at the time of his youth. Can he achieve his dreams this time? 1. Chapter 1. Dormitories pranks. Sawamura bid farewell to his family and followed Takashima Rei to Sedo. When he got on the train, Yamaguchi, Aoi, and Wakana, the baseball team's friends, all came to see him off. "This is for you." When Sawamura was about to get on the train, Aoi handed Sawamura a white baseball cap. When he flipped the hat, there were the signatures and blessings of all Akagi's players inside. Sawamura felt that his nose was sore and his tears could not be controlled. He hurriedly looked up at the sky and closed his eyes forcefully to stop the tears from flowing. Goodbye. At the moment of separation, the players still cried. Sawamura sat on the tram, put his hat on his face, and let the tears slip from his eyes. Goodbyes are bitter. Separation is the most painful thing in life. Sawamura is not sure about death. He didn't know if he died, but this kind of separation is just as heartbreaking. Eijun. Takashima Rei gave Sawamura a worried look. She was about to say something, but she stopped. "Don't worry. Our friendship will not deteriorate because of the distance between Tokyo and Nagano." Wiping away his tears, Sawamura's eyes became firm. After all, his dreams are big. Takashima Rei smiled at ease and nodded at Sawamura. There was nothing to say all the way. By the time Sawamura and Takashima arrived at Seto High School, it was already evening. Takashima Rei first arranged for Sawamura to eat something in the cafeteria, and then asked him not to forget the gathering time the next day. "Our coach is very strict. You must not be late on the first day. Because you're a special case, the coach has agreed to let you train with the first string. So now, you must be more careful." Takashima Rei kept Sawamura at the gate of the dormitory before saying goodbye to him. "After you've packed your bags today, you can have a good rest. Although it's still spring break, our training hasn't slackened at all, and we wake up early." "Don't worry, I'm mentally prepared for this," Eijun replied. Sawamura still has a fresh memory of today. Even after 10 years of returning to the past, he still remembers every detail. After all, in his previous life, he started his high school baseball career in less than 20 hours from now. Separated from Takashima Rei, Sawamura went to Sedo's dormitory, alone. In the hallway of the dormitory, clothes and shorts are hanging everywhere, and the breath of life is very strong. At a glance, you can see that many people take this place as their home. In addition to these, there are training facilities. Under the corridor of the dormitory, there are various small equipment for training strength, such as sit-ups, push-ups, bats. Baseballs, it's like a baseball world. Such a familiar environment made Sawamura feel nostalgic, and he couldn't help but walk around. Sawamura was at ease, but the two seniors who shared the dormitory with him were not. After seeing Takashima Rei leading Sawamura into the dormitory, they started to prepare surprises for Sawamura. After the makeup was done, they hid at the door and waited until their calves were sore and they didn't see Sawamura coming. Until someone is coming close to the door. Finally, that kid is here. Damn, I'm so angry. I will teach him a lesson that he will never forget. A skinny young man, furious with rage, opens the door for Sawamura. The sturdy senior next to him glanced at him with a complicated look, and the name on the dormitory door chose to be silent. After an hour of looking around, Sawamura finally finished visiting the dormitory and glanced at the training facilities with nostalgia, before Sawamura walked towards the dormitory room in his memory. Sedo's dormitory is a mix of third-year, second-year, and first-year students. The purpose is to allow these seniors to lead their juniors and act as role models. Masuko Toru, Kuramochi Yuichi, Sawamura Eijun. The three names were written on the doorplate of the dormitory. Found it. A smile appeared on Sawamura's face, and he was about to knock on the door. Squeak! Before Sawamura knocked on the door opened on its own. Then a pale human head sticks out from it. Before Sawamura understood what was going on, He saw a light shining from below the head. When the white light hit the person's head, there was a ghostly feeling. The head was pale, and every hole in his head was bleeding. At this moment, time seemed to stand still. Sawamura's fingers maintained the posture of knocking on the door, and when he saw the miserable head, he suddenly opened his eyes and showed a mournful smile at him. Oh! The corners of Sawamura's mouth showed a bit of smile, and then he threw himself at the creepy head. So cute. Kuramochi's head was hugged, and he was stunned. At this time, Kuramochi's brain came to a stop, and he couldn't believe what was going on. Dude, don't be kidding. I'm pretending to be a ghost, but you say cute? What is going on with this kid? And then the dormitory lights were turned on. And then in Sawamura's eyes, the creepy head now showed its original color. It turned out that it was a student who did the makeup. And he was a person Sawamura was no stranger to in his previous life, Kuramochi Yuichi. Before coming to Seedoo, Sawamura had simulated this scene many times in his mind. Seeing Kuramochi's resentful and confused expression now, Sawamura's heart blossomed with joy. Pissing off Kuramochi is awesome. You kid, are you crazy? Kuramochi, who is still pissed, questioned Sawamura angrily. Don't praise me, senpai. I will get embarrassed. I didn't praise you. Huh? After laughing, the giant Masuko came over. Sawamura Eijun? Sawamura looked at the flat-headed Masuko and greeted politely. Masuko senpai. Kuramochi looked at Masuko, then at Sawamura, and asked strangely, Do you know each other? No. Yes. Masuko and Sawamura gave two very different answers. Sawamura glanced at Masuko and smiled bitterly in his mind. It seems that I have left a very bad impression on these third-year seniors when I came before. Whatever. We will be roommates from now on. Kuramochi said with a smile. By the way, it's just a tradition in our dormitory. It's not that I want to harass you on purpose. I know. You know. Kuramochi looked at Sawamura strangely, wondering in his mind, how could he know? Of course, Sawamura knew that this scene had happened to him once before in his previous life, and he himself did it twice. It doesn't matter, just find a game console. I want to fight with you for 300 rounds. Sawamura threw the bag onto his bed, and then sat in front of the LCD screen, looking at Kuramochi with bright eyes. Kuramochi looked at Sawamura blankly with a confused expression on his face. It was very strange. How did he know what he was going to do next? Hurry up. Sawamura was already impatient. Oh, in a daze, Kuramochi found the video game console that he had kept for a long time and then plugged it into the LCD TV in the dormitory, ready to play against Sawamura for 300 rounds. 2. Chapter 2. Later, rival the mist in the early morning had yet to disperse, and shrouding the world was in a foggy atmosphere. At this moment, there was a clamor from the baseball field of Seedoo High School. Today is the day when the freshmen of the baseball club officially join the team. All freshmen join the team one day in advance, get the team's uniforms and daily necessities, and take a night off. Then, from the early morning of the next day, report to the team management. Every time a new student formally joins the team, there is a self-introduction. All the new students stand in 2 rows and then introduce themselves in order from the first in the first row. Opposite the freshmen stood the team's superintendent, Karaoka Teshin, as well as the second and third-year seniors. From this day on, they are all members of Seedoo High School and teammates who fight side by side. On the seniors' side, Masuko and Kuramochi yawned again and again. Is it okay not to wake him up? Masuko hesitantly asked Kuramochi. When they woke up this morning, Sawamura was still sound asleep. Masuko originally wanted to wake Sawamura up, but Kuramochi stopped him. Yesterday, he forced us to play games with him until 2 o'clock in the morning. He was going to oversleep himself, and it has nothing to do with us. Speaking of which, Kuramochi was full of anger. Ever since he saw Sawamura yesterday, his good mood has been deflated. Now that he can finally see Sawamura mess up, why won't he gloat at Sawamura's trouble? Masuko remembered Sawamura's irritating appearance 2 years ago when he first visited the school for the first time, so he didn't say anything. At the same time, Sawamura had just woken up. Yeah, I'm late again. Looking at his watch, Sawamura sighed helplessly. In the highly disciplined Seedoo High School baseball club, Sawamura was late on his first day on the team, and he could imagine how miserable it would end for him. He set the alarm clock last night, but he was so sleepy that he didn't even wake him up. Sawamura was excited when he saw his old friend Kuramochi from his previous life and played until late at night. He originally thought that he had set an alarm clock and had the habit of getting up early anyway, so he would be able to get up the next day. Moreover, the psychologist in Sawamura's previous Life Pro team also said that people generally don't sleep too dead in unfamiliar environments. But it just so happened that Sawamura was not unaccustomed here, nor did he feel repulsive or unfamiliar. He slept very soundly and sweetly here. In addition to his biological clock, it was a little later than Sidhu's wake-up time. Kuramochi and Masuko can get up because of their long-term early rise and their biological clocks. Otherwise, they wouldn't stay awake with Sawamura until 2 o'clock in the middle of the night. Checked, the alarm clock has been turned off. Sawamura made the same mistake again and was late on the first day of joining the team. Kuramochi, you little SHT. He cursed angrily, and when Sawamura changed his clothes and rushed to the training ground, he happened to see Miyuki Kanzuya, who was suffering from the same situation as him. Isn't this our genius catcher? Why are you late? It's all my fault for watching the DVD yesterday. I watched it until too late, Miyuki replied, subconsciously before turning around to see Sawamura, and then his pupils suddenly widened. It's you? Sawamura smiled and nodded. Yes, partner, it's me. Man, you deserve to be the big star. Even on the first day of joining the team, you were the last to enter the field, Miyuki said gloatingly. Sawamura's face sank immediately. How can he not know that this guy was trying to set him up? This guy, Miyuki, is still as hateful as ever. Yeah, what a pity. I heard that you have been specially approved to train with the first string, and I didn't expect to be late on the first day of joining the team. If you don't do anything about it, I am afraid that you won't be allowed to train with the first string. It's a pity that you won't be able to catch up with the spring competition with the first string. Miyuki's words were very sincere, and Sawamura sincerely wanted to punch him. Sawamura was also at Sidhu in his previous life. He knew too well how high the treatment he was getting by training with the first string as soon as he entered the team. Such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and he was just letting it go in vain. Sawamura wanted to find a piece of tofu and choke himself to death. Of course, before killing himself, he must strangle the vicious Miyuki bastard to death. Seeing Sawamura's murderous look, Miyuki subconsciously shrank his neck. This guy is so unfriendly. He dares to glare at the senpai. Don't worry, don't worry. For the sake of your previous partnership, I'll give you a way out. Oh, Sawamura looked at Miyuki with a deep look and said nothing. Look, following Miyuki's finger, the new member's self-introduction happened to be the second to last in the first row, and then it was the last one, Kanemaru's turn. What? Sawamura asked curiously, after seeing that there is no one in the first row to introduce the last person. The second row has to start the introduction from the first one. Then, everyone's attention will be focused on the first person in the second row. No one will be looking at the last position in the second row, which means it is the blind spot in everyone's line of sight. When everyone turns their heads, you sneak past like a ninja and then stand in the last position of the second row. Look, everything is perfect. Sawamura looked at Miyuki coldly. You won't fool me, will you? If this is discovered, it will be worse than being late, right? Rest assured, I was successful last year. Moreover, with your strength, the coach will not be willing to put you in the second string in the summer competition no matter what. At most, you will lose your qualification for the spring competition anyway. If you're not going to lose much, it is better to try. But, no but, teste-me. Mat. At this time, Miyuki's face was full of sincerity, which will make naive people trust him. Okay, I'll trust you again. Sawamura's face became solemn. He turned to watch what was happening on the field. From Matsukata Club, Kanemaru Shinji, I hope to be the third baseman. After Kanemaru finished his introduction, it was Tuju's turn, who was the first in the second row, to introduce himself. Tuju just opened his mouth, and everyone's eyes were focused on Tuju. Taking advantage of the chance that everyone's eyes were away, Sawamura jumped up, took small steps, and rushed towards the large team. Behind him, a smile flashed on Miyuki's face. Haha, so easy. Hey, that, Miyuki opened his mouth and was about to sneak back into the team by reporting on Sawamura. He saw Sawamura, who was running towards the main unit, pass over the students who had introduced themselves and went straight to Coach Kataoka. "Sorry, I'm late." Kataoka's face with sunglasses looks like a sculpture, without an expression. He recognized Sawamura and wasn't sure what he should do with Sawamura right now. Sawamura couldn't be late on the first day, so he instead decided that Sawamura wouldn't train with the first string. Then Sawamura smirked and pointed at Miyuki, who was hiding in the corner. The senpai there was late and wanted to sneak in. 3. Chapter 3. It's him. The eyes of everyone at the scene followed Sawamura's fingers, who were pointing at the dumbfounded Miyuki. It's so embarrassing. Miyuki's skin was surprisingly thick, but he came out very naturally and apologized to Kataoka. "You two, run laps until the end of the morning exercise," Kataoka ordered coldly. Sawamura and Miyuki didn't make a sound and ran around the field. "And the two idiots who share the dormitory with Sawamura, you should go too." In the seniors team, Kuramochi and Masuko had aggrieved expressions on their faces. Why? Although aggrieved, they did not dare to argue in front of Kataoka. So the morning running team of 4 was officially formed. "Haha, to report on the senpai, this guy has guts. That guy looks familiar, as if I've seen him before. Is he also from Tokyo? Seems not. Sawamura, it is not him, right?" Several daring freshmen were gossiping in a hushed voice. At this time, Kataoka turned his head and stared straight at the new team. Suddenly, the few whispering guys were silent. Too effing scary. Being stared at by Kataoka with those eyes, they felt as if they were frozen. On the seniors' side, Captain Yuki looked at Sawamura, who was still bickering with Miyuki while running, and the look on his face became deep. It's him. Thinking about it, he turned to look at Kaminato Ryosuke next to him. The smile on Kaminato Ryosuke's face became extremely bright as it was about to bloom. For those who are unfamiliar with Kaminato Ryosuke, they may think that their senior Ryosuke is a good person. He came that kid. Ryosuke's smiling eyes narrowed, and there was a gloomy light in the gaps in his eyes. With the running team of 4, that was dirty Kohai. Miyuki was not affected much because of being set up by Sawamura. Aya, you too? Senpai, weren't you going to set me too? Not to be outdone, Sawamura answered him. Haha, it's all in the past. Don't mind. Miyuki smiled shamelessly. Hey, don't ignore me. I'm implicated too. It's all your fault. At this time, Kuramochi chased after him, and after shouting heavily, he looked at Sawamura viciously. Scary. Seeing Kuramochi, who was coming at him angrily, Sawamura silently accelerated his pace. I will run. Running is good for a pitcher. During the time for the freshmen to introduce themselves and adapt to the training, Sawamura has been running. From 5:30 in the morning until 7 o'clock in the morning. He ran for a full hour and a half. He is strict enough with his usual training, but this time he is about to collapse. When he was in the cafeteria dedicated to the baseball club, he saw a sign above the cafeteria's cooking window. You must eat 3 bowls or more. I missed that. With a slight smile, Sawamura started to eat, ready to replenish the physical stamina he had consumed in the morning. One bite, another bite, Sawamura ate slowly. You won't finish like this. Miyuki, who no one knows when he sat next to him, said, the morning training is very tiring. How much can you eat when you're slow like this? Sawamura ignored him, rolled his eyes, and continued to eat bite by bite, chewing slowly at his own pace. Honestly, it's bad for you to eat like this, Miyuki suggested very carelessly. Just swallow it. You don't need to enjoy every bite like this. Shut it. I am replenishing the lost energy in my body, and I'm not some rice bucket to gulp and gobble the food. My stomach should have its time to digest. As soon as the words came out, Sawamura suddenly felt that the surroundings were full of bad eyes. Those seniors who were gulping and gobbling the food stopped eating, one by one, and looked at Sawamura viciously. Who are you kids saying is a rice bucket? Sawamura smiled awkwardly. A slip of the tongue. He swore to the angry senpais that he didn't do it on purpose, telling them he didn't mean anything. Haha. In this way, even the second-year senpais will dislike you. Miyuki smiled knowingly. Sita's current third grade is the same group of students who had a showdown with Sawamura when he came to visit 2 years ago. Takigawa Krisyu, Yuki Tetsuya, and Kaminato Ryosuke, the leaders of their team, suffered losses to Sawamura. Therefore, most of the third-year seniors glanced at Sawamura with bad eyes. But this is also in Sidu. Even if everyone is upset, they will not deliberately make trouble for Sawamura. If he had changed to another place, they might have started to stumble on Sawamura secretly at this time. In Sidu's second year, except for the few who were promoted to the first string, the others were all headed by the Mizono. The principle that Mizono and his group believe in is to work harder. By working harder, anything is possible, and even surpassing the seniors in eating is possible. They believe that sweat doesn't lie. Of course, because they worked hard and practiced a lot, they also ate a lot, which is the meaning of the rice bucket in Sawamura's words. Sawamura gave Miyuki a displeased glance. This guy is simply his nemesis. No, I must stay away from him in the future. Just when Sawamura made up his mind to stay away from Miyuki in the future, he didn't know that many people in the same grade around him were pointing at him. Although Sawamura was late in the morning, he was not too late. Everyone has just gathered and is still introducing themselves. Although they saw him in the morning. Because of the mist in the morning and the situation, they didn't recognize him. It's different now. They were all in the cafeteria, and they could see Sawamura's appearance very clearly. Is it him? Yes, it must be him. This is big news. I've never heard of it before. I heard that all the famous schools in Japan have sent him invitations. Osaka Kiryu, Kanagawa Yakagaku, and Taito and Inishiro have all publicly invited them. Those four are regulars at Koshien. I didn't expect that he would reject them all and come here. Sidu hasn't entered the Koshien for several years now. Doesn't that mean that we are very hopeful this time? After all, 2 national championships with a nameless school is no small achievement. Oi oi. Don't underestimate high school baseball. Although that person was strong in middle school, he may not be able to perform well in high school. The chatter of the players did not escape Miyuki's ears. I didn't expect you to be so famous in your grade, Miyuki said with emotion. Then you are not the real leader of your grade. Sawamura was tactful. It's not that simple. Tuju and Kanemaru, who have scored in the top 4 in the country in junior baseball and middle school. One is the ace and the other is the third baseman. There is also Takatsu, who left behind a record in junior baseball. They may not accept me. And saying that, Sawamura glanced at him, a quiet and tall young man with a shy baby face. In this grade, there are many powerful guys. And these guys' achievements didn't change because of my rebirth, and they all gathered in Sidu. The scouts are doing a great job. Miyuki pushed down the glasses on the bridge of his nose and said with a smile, as expected of you, the ace and the coach in middle school. I'm over-flattered, Sawamura said humbly. By the way, why didn't I see Chris-senpai? Where is he? 4. Chapter 4. Assert your dominance. After breakfast, everyone gathered on the field again, and after doing a simple warm-up exercise, they heard the instructions from the small speaker to let the first-year freshmen gather and do the test. Sidu has 2 outdoor fields and 1 indoor field. In addition, there are a long hitting range, bullpen, conference room, weight training room, dormitory, and so on. The space occupied by the baseball club was much larger than the entire Akaji Middle School, where Sawamura used to be. With such a large area and hundreds of members, it is impossible to direct the training just by shouting. So in every field, there are small speakers. As soon as the small speaker broadcasted, the players followed the instructions broadcasted by the small speaker and started the corresponding training. The same is true now. These seniors in the 2nd and 3rd grades practice on the field, the hitting field, and the bullpen. Freshmen go to the field to be tested. The freshman test is also very simple. The SITA test is nothing more than the old 3 pitching, running, and hitting tests. Based on the results of these tests, your ability will be assessed, and then combined with your wishes, your fielding position will be determined. Of course, there's also a very small probability. If you perform well, you will have a recognized performance in high school. Then you're likely to be directly promoted to the first string. Sidu has not entered Koshien for several consecutive years, and there are fewer and fewer good seedlings that can be directly recruited. Up to now, there have been no freshmen in Seedoo who have been selected to join the first string before the spring tournament. This is the reason why the third year was called the year of no harvest, because when the freshmen entered the school, no one showed the potential to join the first string when they were assessed. Chris and Yuki both joined the first string before the start of the first year summer competition and cultivated it as a reserve force. This year, it was Sawamura's turn to be tested. The freshmen voluntarily lined up one by one, and then there were two assistant coaches to help them. The one who was in charge of directing everyone's tests and making records was the deputy president of the club, Takashima Rei. I have already reminded you, and you are still late? Takashima Rei glared at Sawamura angrily. Sawamura smiled awkwardly. Accident purely accidental. Takashima Rei rolled her eyes at him and said nothing. Fortunately, after being late, Sawamura admitted and apologized for his mistake and did not arouse the disgust of Karaoka. But he was late and made a mistake, and the plan to transfer him directly into the first string was put on hold. The players whose names were called come forward one by one to the pitching test. One person, 3 balls, and only the highest score was recorded. The first, Oka Kenichi. It was a strong boy who was called by Takashima. He pitched 3 times, twice over 70 meters and once at 85 meters. Awesome. The pitch is so far. The players around whispered one by one. A 15-year-old boy can throw 70 or 80 meters, which is not bad. Yawn. Sawamura suppressed his drowsiness and yawned. Then the next one. It was like this one by one, and there were about 10 tests in total. The highest score was Takatsu, and his long shot was 86 meters. However, his body is very thin and not as buff as Oka Kenichi had before. It seems that the shock is much stronger than Oka Kenichi. After Takatsu, it was Kaminato who looked very shy and had a baby face. His long shot record is 65 meters, which is lower than anyone else. It's really because of his small body that he can throw such a ball. It's not easy either. But with a body like his, I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to be in the main string. Listening to the discussion of the players around, Sawamura touched his nose board. After all, the test is just a test. The real strength of the players depends on the competition. Just like Kaminato Haruchi here, his strength can't be seen just by looking at the test. Gradually, after the test, fewer and fewer were not tested. When there are 5 people left, the best test scores are Tuju and Kaneda. These 2 people were originally famous pitchers in Tokyo, and Tuju was even the main pitcher for the best 4 in the country. Kaneda is 90 meters. Tuju is 92 meters. They are the only 2 of these players who have more than 90 long shots. Next, Furuya Satoru. 4th from the bottom, it was Furuya's turn. The moment he saw Furuya, Sawamura felt that the blood in his body couldn't help but boil. The big man is here. Can I go all out? Furuya Satoru seriously asked Takashima Rei, who was in charge of the test. Takashima Rei still didn't understand what was going on, but it didn't matter, and she signaled to him to throw his full power. Seedoo's pitching test scale extends to a full 120 meters. In theory, it is impossible for a middle school student who has just graduated to pitch this far. With the permission of Takashima Rei, Furuya Satoru's aura changed. He is like an unknown creature, giving a strange feeling with his pitching form. With the stride of his body, the baseball in Satoru's hands was thrown like a cannonball. Boom! With a terrifying whistling sound, the pitched ball flew and flew along the test scale until it exceeded the limit of the scale and fell after. Beyond 120 meters, super long shot. One pitch that will shock the audience is the ability of Furuya. A glimmer of light flashed in Takashima Rei's glasses, and she said flatly, "Okay, get ready for the base run test." After finishing speaking, Takashima Rei calmly recorded Satoru's pitching results in her notebook. Potential, A+. After everyone finished the test, Takashima Rei just read Sawamura's name. Sawamura Eijun. Sawamura happily walked forward and picked up the baseball. To be honest, if it wasn't his turn, he would be sleepy. It's him. Nagano Prefecture, Sawamura Eijun of Akaji Middle School. I didn't expect that the Demon King of national records would come to our school. The players couldn't help but muttered when they saw Sawamura playing. Takashima Rei is also very proud. Scouting Sawamura is one of her most successful scouting. It's been more than a year and a half since Sawamura pitched at Seco last time, and she doesn't know how far Sawamura has progressed. In this regard, Takashima Rei is full of expectations. With a baseball in his hand, Sawamura glanced at Furuya briefly. Then he took a step, and as his weight shifted, and he threw the ball out of his hand. Although the speed of baseball is not as intimidating as Furuya, it is far faster than others. And most importantly, Sawamura has put a lot of spin on the pitch. Puck. The baseball lands. The assistant coach in charge of the inspection ran over to take a look and announced the result of Sawamura's first pitch. 110-meter. At this time, all the players in the audience were stunned. Another monster. Sawamura's eyes narrowed, and his heart was very unhappy. The speed of the ball is not as good as that of Furuya. He knows that. After all, Furuya Satoru is very talented, and he can't compare to his natural speed. But how can his pitching distance be less than Furuya? He can't let this go, not after getting this chance of regression, not after all of his training and achievements in middle school. He has to assert his dominance. Thinking, Sawamura raised his leg high, and then his leg fell like a battle axe. With this action, Sawamura's body turned like a rolling windmill, and he threw his second ball strongly. Whoosh! The white ball, like a ray of light, travels through a distance of 100 meters. 120 meter. 5. Chapter 5. Sawamura's test results not enough. In Sawamura's eyes now, there is only the goal of exceeding 120 meters. Come again, he shouted, asking the assistant coach to pass the third ball. Holding the ball with the most standard four-seam grip, Sawamura seemed to concentrate all his strength on this ball. The right foot was raised high, and then, as the center of gravity of the body shifted, his arms swung up like a whip, and with this force, he threw the baseball in his hand. Whoosh! This time, the small white ball seemed to pass through the obstacle of the 120-meter space, reached the end line in the blink of an eye, and then flew out 2 more meters. More than 120. With a smile on his face, the assistant coach gave Sawamura a thumbs up. Takashima Rei smiled with satisfaction and made a record from Sawamura's first record. Distance. A+ potential. A+ as expected of the talent she scouted. It is indeed no trivial matter. Well done. Takashima Rei showed a rare smile and whispered to Sawamura. Nothing much. Sawamura smiled and nodded lightly. In the new team, Furuya Satoru suddenly exuded a furious aura. Facing Sawamura, he became competitive. Although Sawamura's ball speed is not as fast as his, intuitively, he thinks Sawamura's pitching is also very difficult to deal with. This person will compete with me for a place on the pitching mound. Sawamura met Furuya's gaze without escaping. They were friends in the past life, and if nothing else happens in this life, they will also become good friends. Sawamura's character can stick to both sides for the sake of his friends, but he will never let anyone take the mound. Crack, crack. There was a spark in the center of the eyes of the two of them. The shy Kaminato looked at this, and then at that, and suddenly had the thought of being in an interesting era. All tests are over. Then move on to the next one, the running test. The first one, Oka Kenichi. Start all over again. To be honest, Sawamura didn't have a memory of any particularly strong speedrunners this year. There are 2 tests for the players. One is the 100-meter run, and the other is the 28-meter run, distance between bases. Tested one by one, most of them are normal. At this time, it was Tuju's achievements that barely made people's eyes shine. 100 meters, 12.17 seconds. Base run, 3.41 seconds. This is the best of all the people tested. Kanemaru, who came in second, was a whole notch slower than Tuju. The unparalleled Furuya, who performed well before, fell directly on this test. 100 meters, 13.14 seconds. Base run, 3.68 seconds. It seems to be passable, but if he is allowed to start at the same time as Tuju at the distance of 100 meters, he will be behind Tuju by at least 7 or 8 meters. This is even more pronounced when stealing bases. Within 30 meters, he would be pulled down 3 or 4 meters. On the baseball field, let alone a 1-meter gap, even a 1-centimeter gap is fatal. The gap between Tuju and Furuya is no longer as simple as the gap. In terms of running bases, there are 2 levels of players. Sawamura remains the last test. The first is 100 meters. The time Sawamura finished running was 12.11 seconds. That's faster than Tuju, but not by much. Then there's on-base speed. This time, Sawamura's performance is very dazzling. 3.3 seconds. Takashima Rei is also very satisfied with this result. Even if he is dragged to the current first string, Sawamura's running speed can still rank in the top 3. Except Kuramochi, there are not many players in this generation of Sea-Doo who are exceptionally fast at running. Although Sawamura is not very good at running long distances, if it is only within 30 meters, his explosive speed is still terrifying. 12.11 second. 3.30 second. Potential evaluation. A+2 tests are over, and 1 last remains. The batting test. Sea-Doo's batting test is also divided into 2 rounds. In a round of pitching machine throws, the pitching machine throws ordinary 130 kilometers per hour straight balls. The ball hits the infield for 1 point, the outfield for 2 points, and a home run for 3 points. Those who can hit to the outer field will be tested by a real player. In charge of pitching is the second string's backup pitcher Kawashima. After hitting the ball from the pitching machine to the outfield, challenge Kawashima. At this level, infield hits add 1 point, outfield hits add 2 points, and home run hits add 3 points. 6 points are A+, 5 points, 4 points are A, and so on. In this test, the other new player performed well. After all, for Sea-Doo to take the fancy of them and make an invitation. These guys all have a good batting skills. Especially Tuju, Kanemaru, and Takatsu, they all got it. Kawashima's pitch is not sharp or hard to hit, but home runs are too hard. Furuya hit a home run, an average hit, and scored 4 points. The same is true. Kaminato Haruchi, 1 outfield, 1 infield, 3 points. Of course, this does not fully explain his strength. As it was said before, the strength of some players cannot be seen by testing. Some powerful players will only explode their strength when they compete. Take Kaminato, for example. Finally, it was Sawamura's turn. He worked so hard on his batting skills in his years in the pro leagues, and has even set some records in his days at Akaji Middle School. There is nothing to say. The 130 kilometers per hour straight balls were directly smashed off the field by him. Home run, 3 points. Next, it was Kawashima's turn to pitch. The opponent was Sawamura, and Kawashima obviously got some kind of hint and began to mix some breaking balls, and the pitcher gradually began to show fighting spirit. Seriously? Sawamura gave Kawashima a strange look. Kawashima was so calm before. Why is he suddenly so energetic right now? Takashima raised glasses, reflecting the sunlight, looked very dazzling. Is someone deliberately arranging this? Sawamura felt something was wrong there, but he didn't care. Kawashima's ball speed is 130 kilometers per hour. Although his pitching has some spirit, the course is not tricky. The most crucial point, the pitch's power is not heavy. In Sawamura's experience, he especially hated those brute force pitchers. Instead, he prefers pitchers who don't have a lot of power. He is not lacking in combat experience, but only in strength. For Sawamura, Kawashima's pitching is really not difficult to deal with. Finding the right time to swing the bat, Sawamura hit the ball directly. Fly out. Home run, 6 points. Rating, A+. Name, Eijun Sawamura. Pitching, A+. Base run, A+ batting. A+ when this report was handed to Kataoka, Kataoka was very encouraged to transfer Sawamura directly to the first string. Not only this report, but the key point is that Sawamura left his achievements in middle school. Twice, he led the nameless Akaji to win the national championship. Such pitchers are not at the same level as ordinary players in terms of experience and mentality. As they thought at the beginning, pitchers like Sawamura can be used even if they're directly drawn to the first string. The most important thing now is for him to get used to the rhythm of high school and the physical strength to keep up with the high school games. After reading Sawamura's test results, Kataoka's eyes became a little brighter. Let him run to exercise his endurance first, and when Chris comes back, give him to Chris to train him. 6. Chapter 6. The high school experience the next morning was the day when the school officially opened. Yes, that's right, the players of the Seco High School Baseball Club entered school early. The old students were about a week in advance, and the freshmen were 2 or 3 days in advance. Several team managers in the baseball club, after packing up the equipment, gossiped about the performance of the newcomers yesterday. A few team managers didn't have to go to school early with the players. They all got up early this morning. Takako Senpai, does this year's rookie have any outstanding players? A second-year manager asked her third-year senior. Although everyone is the team's manager, in terms of well-informed information, of course, the senior manager who has been in the baseball club for 2 years is more informed. Yes, of course there is. This year is good. There are famous students like Takatsu, and there are also Tuju and Kanemaru, who are in the Matsukata Junior Club. There is also a very good pitcher who can make a 120-meter long shot. Wow, wow, wow. Every time that senior said a name, the 2 second-year team managers screamed in unison. They didn't expect the Seco Baseball Club to have such good luck. There is one more person. You absolutely won't believe it. Who? Who? The 2 second-year team managers were in the gossip mode, looking at her eagerly and asking curiously. Just as that senior had hyped enough and was about to say the name, there was a bang, and a baseball box opposite to them fell over, and the baseballs rolled to the ground. Several team managers followed the noise and saw the manager of the first-year small team, who had just joined the baseball team. Haruno, is that you again? Natsukawa, the second-year team manager, holding her forehead helplessly, looked at the guilty-looking Haruno with a face full of disappointment. I am sorry, senpai, you're increasing our workload. Umamoto, the second-year team manager, complained, but said nothing more. Go and prepare ice cubes. Let us pack them up here. The 2 second-year team managers helped Haruno clear the mess. Haruno left, and the 2 second-year managers continued to gossip. Senpai, who is it that you were telling us about before? That senior girl didn't stall out and whispered a name. Him? Is this possible? Voices like this talking about Sawamura can be found everywhere on the campus of Seco High School. For 2 consecutive years, he took the no-named Akagi Middle School and won the national championship. Is Sawamura Eijun's current strength the first in the nation in the same year? It may still be debatable. Even Sawamura himself would not dare to pat his chest and say that if you searched all over the country, there will be no first-year high school player who is more powerful than me. But when it comes to fame, let alone first-year high school students, even third-year students are counted, and there are not many more famous than him. This does not include those high school students who have graduated and are participating in the professional leagues, such as Azuma. For real fans, their fame must be greater than that of Sawamura. In the freshman test, his strength ranks first, and he is a star player himself. Different from the previous life, wherever Sawamura walks now, he is in the spotlight. He had worked hard for his baseball career from an early age in his life. It seemed that all the time, someone was pointing behind him. Fortunately, in the face of such a situation, Sawamura also had experience in dealing with it in his previous life. As long as he can keep his cool, everyone's enthusiasm will fade after getting used to him. Classes, training just a week after entering school. Sawamura maintained such a low profile. Soon, he was freed from that kind of gaze. After getting rid of it, Sawamura let go of his cover, and from time to time, he went to chat and spend time with Furuya and Haruchi. Furuya longed for friends from the bottom of his heart. Facing Sawamura's enthusiasm, although he didn't know how to respond, he never refused. Not to mention Kaminado. Kaminado was curious about Sawamura himself, and in the face of Sawamura's initiative, soon he became Sawamura's little fanboy. Of course, he wouldn't think so, but to outsiders, Haruchi, who runs behind Sawamura's but all day, is no different from fanboy. In the past life, the reason why they became friends was that they believed that there was something in their character that attracted each other. Although Sawamura has been reborn, the things in his bones have not changed. Everyone loved baseball, and they got to know each other very quickly. To a certain extent, Sawamura Eijun, Furuya Satoru, and Kaminado Haruchi are all very simple people. Of course, there are not only the two of them who have a good relationship with Sawamura. Kanemaru, Tuju, Kaneda, Kariba, these people had a very good relationship with Sawamura in their previous lives too. But now, for some reason, they don't get along well with Sawamura. Time passed day by day on such plain days. For the freshmen who have not even joined the second string, their task is very simple. That is, training, training, and training again. Seto High School is a place that respects strength. Only when you truly show your strength, you will get the opportunity. For new students, their physical strength, experience, skills, and knowledge are mostly different from those of the old students. And for those who have just entered the school, their first task is to keep up with the training intensity of the old students. This is of course no problem for Sawamura. He is a little stamina maniac himself, plus he is trained rigorously in the winter before coming to Seto. After entering the school, he was also the one who trained the hardest, while everyone else ran empty. Only he dragged a small tire and ran ahead of everyone. If you just look at the performance, except for Sawamura being late on the first day, his other performances are all excellent. In terms of strength, even some seniors of the second string believed that Sawamura could enter the first string. But there is no way. It is not them who call the shots. Kataoka Teshin is a person who is stricter on the inside than on the outside. Since he had decided that before the end of the spring tournament, he did not intend to let Sawamura be promoted to the first string, so he would not easily change this decision. No matter how good Sawamura's performance is, for him, rules are rules. Of course, Kataoka's rules are not set in stone. If the team is really in need, these rules of his are not incapable of adapting. However, it is very regrettable that in this spring competition, Seto High School played smoothly, and they reached the top 8 in the Tokyo competition, and they did not encounter any strong teams. For this reason, Sawamura has never had the opportunity to enter the first string until the spring quarterfinals. Things just turn around. In the quarterfinals of the Tokyo spring competition, Seto High School played against their old rival, Sanka High School. 7. Chapter 7. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. In the quarterfinals of the Tokyo spring competition, Seto High School played against their old rival, Sanka High School. Coach Kataoka attaches great importance to this game. In the last Tokyo fall tournament, it was the Sanka High School that blocked the road for Seto High School to Koshien. It's their chance for revenge. Now that they will play against Sanka High School, Kataoka will of course bring his students to avenge their defeat. Needless to say, the other party has just returned from Koshien, so they have the wind in their sails. Then we will let them experience the fighting spirit of those of us, a team who failed to make it into the Koshien. Before departure, Kataoka specially gave instructions to the players. Yuki, do it. Yes. Yuki nodded, and then the player of the first string all formed a circle. Then Yuki pointed to his chest with his thumb and asked, "Who are we?" Seto. All the players around shouted in unison. This huge shout directly stunned the first-year students. This SHT is so cool. Kanemaru looked at it in confusion, and the young players of Seto's first year said, "I came to Seto because of this." More than him, Seto, who hadn't entered Koshien for 5 years, still attracts a lot of good seedlings who have achieved good results in youth clubs. Why? This team has an intense attraction. Sawamura's face darkened. It is a lie to say that he has no regrets now. If he hadn't woken up late, he might be among the people who shout slogans together now. While Sawamura secretly blamed himself, the slogan of the first string continued. Who sweats more than anyone else? Seto. Who sheds more tears than anyone else? Seto. Are you ready for the fight? Oh. Swear by the dignity of the school. We have only one goal. Number 1 in the nation. Go. Oh. All the fingers of the first string pointed to the sky, as if at this moment they are the protagonists of the whole world. Do you want to watch the game? You can take the bus. In the baseball department, President Oda arranged for 2 buses, one for the first string and one for the cheerleaders. After all, this is a famous school. Furuya didn't want to go, but was pulled by Sawamura. No, you have to go too. Furuya looked at Sawamura in confusion. Go and see how cruel the West Tokyo competition area is. This sentence successfully convinced Furuya, and he followed him on the bus. Tokyo Spring Tournament quarterfinals, Sita High School's versus Senko High School, officially started. At the beginning of the game, Sidu attacked. Sita hit the first pitch. Kuramochi hit the ball for the Senko High School with the first swing and then used his unparalleled speed to hit the base. Next, Kaminato Ryosuke cooperated with Kuramochi to let Kuramochi steal the second base. And then Ryosuke chose 4 balls to walk. No one out, runners at first and second base. The third batter, Isashiki Jun, hit an infield grounder. Ryosuke and Kuramochi each advanced 1 base. And then, it was the turn of Yuki Tetsuya, the fourth batter, who hit a beautiful double, which directly sent Ryosuke and Kuramochi back to home plate. Sita leads 2 o'clock. Then Masuko, the fifth batter, was solved. 1 out, runners at first and third base, and it was Miyuki's turn as the sixth batter. After tangled up with a few balls, 2 strike, and 2 balls, Miyuki was chased. After chasing Miyuki, the catcher of Senko High School gave Monica the sign for the winning shot, a slider to the outside corner. Ping! This ball was guessed by the crafty Miyuki and flew directly out of the field. 3-point home run. The total score extended to 5 o'clock. The audience cheered wildly. Sawamura glanced at Furuya, who was beside him, and said, "Did you see? This is Sidu's lineup." Furuya was shocked and speechless. Even with such a powerful lineup, Sidu has not entered Koshien for 5 years. It is imaginable what kind of monsters the opponents that they face up against. On the pitching mound of Sidu, imagine how you would respond when the opponent is them. Your unstable fastball alone may not work. Sawamura said to him, "I'm not going to let anyone hit my pitch," Furuya replied firmly. Sawamura glanced at him and smiled bitterly in his heart. The boy still didn't know how high was the sky. This era of high school baseball is an era of strong players, and it is not easy for a good pitcher to perform well. In the first inning, Sidu scored a full 8 points, making the first inning a super big inning. It seemed that there was no reason for Sidu not to win, but the subsequent innings did not develop that way. The ace, Tampa, who had been performing well this spring, suddenly collapsed in the second inning and lost 4 points in a row. Then he dropped another 3 in the third inning. Tampa, the ace, was substituted. Kawakami, the substitute, played well and stabilized the situation, only lost 2 points, and withstood the luxurious lineup of the Senko High. In this game, Sita scored 13 points, and the Senko scored 9 points. Even with an 8-point lead in the first inning, Sidu was almost overturned by the Senko High School. Oh man, it's really hard to win. The opponent's attack is so ferocious. It feels like it's hard to get rid of the opponent's pursuit. Senko is well-deserved. There were such exclamations from the surrounding friends. The bigger problem lies with us. We are 8 points ahead, and we're being chased like this. Kaminato Haruchi looked friendly usually, but in baseball, he was very strict. Even if the other party is a senior, no strength means no strength. Sidu still played so embarrassed after scoring 13 points because the ace's pitching was unstable. Tanpa senpai. Sawamura looked at Tampa, who had walked away in a decadent manner, and a trace of worry flashed in his eyes. With Tampa's character, it is difficult to deal with such a situation. Thinking, Sawamura stood up and prepared to leave. "Are you going?" Haruchi asked a question and also stood up. Furuya didn't say anything and stood up. "By the way, Eijun-kun, you haven't said your thoughts yet." Kaminato looked at Sawamura curiously. "I'm very worried about Tampa senpai. He's thrown a lot of wide balls, and he was probably uncomfortable." Sawamura sighed. Kaminato looked at Sawamura stupidly. He didn't expect Sawamura to have such a side. He also thought that Sawamura would be the more determined kind of person. "I'm sorry to Tampa senpai, but for us, this might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Given the opportunity, Sawamura would never give up that spot on the mound. 8. Chapter 8. A special in-team match. Sidu won the match against Senko High, but it was not easy. At the same time, the problem of their lack of pitchers was also exposed in this game. I think it is necessary to promote Sawamura-kun directly to the first string. Just after the game ended, Takashima Rei proposed. Oda, the president of the baseball club, also thought it would be more appropriate to transfer Sawamura to the first string when pitchers were insufficient. Through this period of observation, they also had a clearer understanding of Sawamura's strength. What a genius! Mentality, technique, awareness, physical strength, endurance, defensive ability, vision as a pitcher. You can hardly fault Sawamura. A/N. Sawamura's previous life has been a professional player for more than 10 years. If he can't do this, he would have been eliminated in the cruel competition. In addition, Sawamura's batting skills is also in demand. Sawamura showed extraordinary talent in various batting practices and tests. Of course, if they have to be picky, Sawamura is not without faults. For example, his physical strength is not very notable in this freshman year. Why are most famous baseball players relatively macho? It is because they need strength. So strength is also one of the important indicators to measure a player. Generally speaking, a famous school like Seco would not choose a freshman as their main force. First, they're not up to standard yet. It is usually difficult for a freshman to adapt to the intensity and rhythm of high school competition. But Sawamura is different because his achievements with Akagi Middle School are very celebrated, and his experience and skills, he can become a very good main force even in the current seeded team. Kataoka nodded. Go back and immediately announce that the first-year players will form a team tomorrow and then compete with the second and third-year players. An in-team match. Oda raised his head in astonishment and looked at Kataoka in disbelief. It's not good. After all, they have just entered school and haven't seen what real high school baseball is. It's not good for the confidence they accumulated in middle school. It will be hit to the point of collapse. High school baseball and middle school baseball are two worlds in and of themselves. A giant like Seco has the strength to directly challenge the level of professional teams, and the gap between them and ordinary high schools is even more obvious. It's hard to imagine that Kataoka will make the first year challenge the second and third years so quickly. Without a doubt, it is simply a super slaughterhouse, and freshmen will be blood-bathed. Our first string doesn't need players who can't show their strength in the face of harsh conditions. Takashima Rei is stricter than men when it comes to baseball. The two sang in harmony, making Oda resist the urge to roll his eyes. But just to find a reason to take a step back, Coach Kataoka is too cruel to freshmen. When Sawamura was late, it was Kataoka who said that he would not promote Sawamura to the first string before summer. Let him train his physical fitness first, and wait for Chris to return from the United States. Now, to change the original decision, of course, he has to make a big decision. It's just that this decision is a little cruel to other freshmen. It's time for Chris to come back before the Golden Week, right? Oda suddenly changed the subject. Kataoka nodded. A trace of sadness flashed in his eyes, and there was still hope. After Sawamura and the others returned to school, they were immediately informed of the good news by the team management. Really, Sawamura knew in his heart that it seemed that the pitcher Mound was about to select a newcomer. Of course, the intention of Coach Kataoka to arrange this practice game is not just that. When eating in the cafeteria in the evening, Kaminado, Sawamura, and Furuya used to sit together. Miyuki suddenly came over and sat across from them. You are really calm. Miyuki looked at Sawamura and said with a smile, "This is a good opportunity for you to take the mound." You know, Sawamura rolled his eyes at Miyuki and didn't bother to pay attention to him. Miyuki is so black-bellied, and there are traps everywhere in his words. Sawamura admits that although his mental age is much older than Miyuki's, he is too pure and kind, so he doesn't want to be tricked by this guy again. So his principle is to cherish life and stay away from Miyuki. Facing Sawamura's silence, Miyuki didn't take it seriously. He laughed, and he sat down calmly and prepared to eat. At this time, Furuya Satoru, who was sitting next to Sawamura, suddenly looked at Miyuki seriously and asked, "In tomorrow's game, I won't let anyone hit my ball. In this case, can Miyuki-senpai catch my pitching?" Miyuki and Eijun looked up at Furuya in surprise. The eyes of Kaminado Haruchi, hidden under the flowing hair, were full of surprise. And now the airheaded boy has gone and done it. Sawamura hummed in his mind and quickly prepared to leave this place. Unfortunately, he failed to do so. The seniors of the second and third grades are angry. Furuya Satoru's words were so challenging that it was like slapping them in the face. They can endure Sawamura's arrogance, because Sawamura is only arrogant on the field, and they also want to teach him a lesson on the field. But this Furuya Satoru is different. Hey, what did you say, kid? Don't look in the mirror before you talk big. What do you think this place is? Seeing the indignant seniors surrounding him, Sawamura felt helpless. What to do now? Of course, from his standpoint, whether it is in public or in private, he must help Furuya Satoru. They are all freshmen, and Furuya Satoru is his friend. How can he watch his friend being besieged and stand by? This obviously doesn't fit Sawamura's personality. But he also knew that this was Furuya's fault, not just in this school, but anywhere else. There is no reason for anyone to keep silent if the juniors take the initiative to provoke the seniors. To help his friend and not help the seniors, or to help the seniors and not help his friends. What should he do? Just when Sawamura was in a dilemma, a voice rescued him. Don't put on such an unsightly behavior. We are baseball players, so let's decide the outcome on the field. This sentence successfully stopped the siege of the second and third-year seniors. Sawamura breathed a sigh of relief and then looked at the speaker. It's Tampa. Also, his opponent is tomorrow. Obviously, Tampa's prestige in the team is still very high. With one sentence, the angry second and third graders who will play against them in the match tomorrow were silenced. Tomorrow's game may be more interesting than I thought. The next day, the day of the in-team match. In the morning, the class was normal, and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, all the members of the baseball club gathered on the field, divided into 2 teams with different aura. One is the older students in the second and third grades, and the other is the freshmen in the first year. But before the game starts, as the saying goes, a bird can't fly without a head. Shall we choose a coach first? The freshmen gathered together, and Sawamura said with a sign of doing his part. Chapter 9. The acting coach, seeing Sawamura standing up, all the freshmen of the first grade are looking at him, and he is looking at them back. They have a bit of dissatisfaction on their faces. Although many people were eager to do it, none of them stood up and said anything. Because they also know that what Sawamura relies on, of course, is based on his skills and achievements. It is precisely because during the daily training, when everyone in the first year was training together, they could feel the gap between them and Sawamura more and more. And strength is respected on Sedo's baseball field. Sawamura is undoubtedly the #1 freshman, and when he said these words, it was difficult for anyone to say they were up for the mission. You mean you're going to be our acting coach in this game, aren't you? Kanemaru's tone reeked with dissatisfaction. Among the freshmen who understood the meaning of the game and hoped to appeal by becoming the acting coach, there are 3 in total. In addition to Sawamura, there are Tuju and Kanemaru. There are others too, but they stay silent, either due to their character or lack of skills, so there is no potential to be the acting coach. Don't get me wrong, we are buddies in the same trenches in today's game. How can I just think about some vain thought? Anyway, I also worked as an acting coach in Akagi. Shameless. Kanemaru looked at Sawamura, both angry and helpless. You have brought this out and said it like that. Who can compete with you? As ace and coach, he led the nameless Akagi Middle School to win the national championship and freaking twice. With such a resume, how can others compete with Sawamura? Then who else wants to be the acting coach? Sawamura looked left and right and found that no one stood up. Don't be like this. Anyone who wants to do it can come up. It feels like I'm bullying you people. Sawamura set his sights on Kanemaru, Tuju, Furuya, Takatsu, and Kaminado, these powerful players. Kanemaru subconsciously avoided Sawamura's gaze, but he was a little unwilling. Tuju looked nervous, apparently thinking about what to throw next. Furuya swayed his head, with completely no idea of what was going on. Kaminado was very enthusiastic and looked at Sawamura seriously. Okay, if that's the case, then I'll do it. Clap. Sawamura clapped his hand twice, signaling everyone to get together. The players were obedient and formed a circle with Sawamura in the center of the circle. First of all, everyone must understand the meaning of this game. Sawamura's first sentence managed to attract everyone. This game is played with the quarterfinals and semifinals of the spring competition at the door. In terms of timing, It is definitely not the normal in-team game timing. That means this game is not a normal game at all, but a special recruitment assessment of the first string and second. So, if you perform well in this game, you may even have the opportunity to be directly promoted to the first string directly. What? Really? I've never heard of that. You're not just guessing, are you? The players are surprised. Trust your coach. Sawamura said seriously. Now that we understand the meaning of this game, then let's talk about the factors that are not in our favor. First, the opponent is the senpais who has been training before us in this team for 1 to 2 years, and the tacit understanding is far more than ours. Second, the opponent's average strength is also higher than ours. Don't underestimate them because most of them haven't entered the first string. Sidu's second string is also very strong. Third, for the third grade, this is almost the last chance they have to enter the first string, and their fighting spirit is not comparable to us. We get it. We get it. Please do not continue. Kanemaru was quite motivated at first, and although he was a little nervous, he thought he should be able to show his strength when he stood on the field. As a result, after being told by Sawamura, he suddenly felt as if he had no confidence at all. The ones I'm talking about aren't the most brutal stuff. The most brutal things are about our own team, which I still didn't say. Sawamura ignored Kanemaru and continued. Also, the arrangement of the lineup is decided by the coach. We don't know how this lineup is arranged, but it is nothing more than that. Whoever performs poorly will be replaced. How can we play the game when cooperation, strength, and morale are not as good as the opponents? Or to put it another way, what kind of approach do we need for this game? All the players, influenced by Sawamura, began to fall into their own thoughts. Before they could finish thinking, Sawamura answered, "It's actually very simple. What we need to know is what this game means to us. Work hard to show your best self. This is what this game means to us. But here's what I want to say. The best self is not just about showing off your skills, cooperation, and fighting spirit. These things are also very important. Our first goal is, of course, to be selected into the first string. Even if you cannot be selected into the first string, it is not bad to be promoted to the second string. At the very least, you must show your own skills and leave a good impression on the coach. There are a full 100 people on the team. If the first impression is not good, it may be difficult to have a chance to succeed in the future. Understand, in the beginning, when Sawamura was the acting coach, some players who were in famous baseball teams were still a little dissatisfied in their minds. As we mentioned earlier, if the hardball is a professional, then the softball league where Akiji and Eijun played in middle school is equivalent to the amateur league. You're asking the people in the professional league to follow the orders of the people in the amateur league. Of course, it is not easy. If it weren't for Sawamura's outstanding achievements and his own strength being significantly higher than theirs, Sawamura wouldn't become the acting coach so easily. They just didn't expect that Sawamura would say something like that after becoming the acting coach. These young players who came from famous clubs felt that every word he said was valuable. The analysis is also reasonable. These players from the famous schools are not really stupid. They also vaguely guessed why Kataoka was holding the in-team game at a time like this. But even if they guessed it, they were reluctant to tell others about it. If they talk too much and others become serious, they're likely to outperform them. Then maybe it was someone else who entered the first string, not themselves. People are selfish after all. But Sawamura is different. He can analyze all the details he knows very thoroughly. He hopes that the players on the same team as him can perform well. Honesty is an expression of confidence. The reason why Sawamura was so honest and without reservation told everyone the real purpose of this game. It is because he has absolute confidence in himself to be selected for the first string. At the start of the game, Kaneda was the first to get on the mound. Chapter 10. This is Sidu. The first pitcher for the freshman team was Kaneda. Besides him, there are 8 other players. In the first half of the first inning, the freshman team attacked. The pitcher of the seniors team is Tampa, and the catcher is the first-string backup catcher Mayachi. In the other positions are also the players of the second string. This is helm mode from the start. Looking at the lineup arranged by Kataoka, Sawamura's mouth brought out a sneer. A battle of pitchers. That is the most important goal of this game. On the one hand, It is possible to discover pitchers who may become combat power among the freshmen. On the other hand, it is also possible to use the freshmen to put pressure on Tampa. Strike, strike, batter out. As soon as the game started, Tampa was on fire. After striking out the first batter with a straight ball, facing the second batter on the field, he directly opened his own tiebreaker, the high drop curve. Whoosh! The small white ball seemed to hit the batter. When the ball approached the batter, it seemed to stop suddenly and then fell back to the strike zone. Strike! The young man who played as the second batter of the freshman team was directly paralyzed and fell on the ground in fright. He thought the ball just now would hit him. Sitting on the ground will in no way help you hit a ball. First-year kid. Sitting in the position of the catcher, Miyachi exhaled coldly. This kind of disdain for strength directly stunned the batter. Sure enough, Sawamura was right. In this game, the fighting spirit of the two sides is not at the same level. The senpais are very serious. Not only serious, they are just desperate. Today, many people come to see Sidu practice, including seniors and alumni who graduated from Sidu in the past. Tampa is starting to exert his strength. His kind of ball is difficult for the freshmen to hit. Didn't you say this year is a good harvest year? They look average. No matter how you say it, it's hard for new students to compete with old students. Strike, strike, batter out. 3 consecutive strikeouts in the first half of the first inning. Roar! The introverted Tampa roared from the mound. The faces of the freshman team were as heavy as ice. The difference is too big. The pitching and fielding of high school students is completely uncharted territory for them. In this case, it is also difficult for freshmen to show their strength when they are on the field. Kaneda. Hearing Sawamura calling him, Kaneda looked at Sawamura in amazement. Don't forget, why did you join Sidu? Kaneda nodded his head. Furuya, Tuju, let's get ready. I guess we'll be playing soon. Sawamura greeted. Furuya and Tuju stood up very obediently and left with Sawamura. The 3 of them stood in a triangle, 15 or 16 meters apart from each other. Let's start. Whoosh. Tuju's ball speed is more than 130 kilometers per hour, which is very fast among freshmen. Snap. After receiving the ball, Sawamura passed it out faster than Tuju. Snap. The next catch was Furuya. After Furuya received the ball, he passed it to Tuju at a speed that surpassed that of Sawamura. Snap. Crack, snap, snap. Crack, crack, crack. The passing speed of the 3 people is getting faster and faster, giving people the feeling that the white ball is like a windmill. In this scene, those alumni and graduated seniors all looked dizzy. Are these 3 guys also freshmen? Yes, that's right. Hey, isn't the one in the middle Sawamura? What? How is this possible? Really? I've never heard of it before. Everyone's eyes were attracted by the 3 figures. The old team's face also sank. Kataoka, the referee, raised his eyelids and glanced at Sawamura. He saw through Sawamura's plan at a glance. Sawamura wants to put pressure on the players on the field using off-field methods. Interesting kid. The game continues. Ping. Kaneda's ball kept getting hit, and in the blink of an eye, he lost 3 points. Dropped 3 runs and only got 1 out. Kaneda was beaten badly. The freshman's momentum was still taken away. Although Sawamura tried his best to help, there were some things that he could not control from outside the field. Honestly, the strength gap between freshmen and old students is just big. The reason why the freshmen were encouraged by Sawamura was so they wouldn't easily collapse. It's because they can't keep up with the rhythm of high school baseball. In the face of these fierce seniors, they're tied up and unable to exert their strength. At this time, you need a strong batter or a strong pitcher to save the situation. In the first inning, Kaneda went down and another pitcher got in, and the 2 lost points in the first inning. Under the stimulation of Sawamura, the new students really worked hard. But in the same way, Sawamura's advice and encouragement also stimulated freshman emotions. Originally, they wanted to abuse and chop them like vegetables as much as they wanted, but they still had reservations. Now, they have no reservations at all. They have tried their best on any swing. In the second inning, Tuju was up, dropped 6 points, and managed to get 3 outs. After the inning was over, Tuju collapsed on the bench and covered his head with a towel. What, can't you do it? Sawamura asked. My strength is not enough. Tuju's tears dripped down the towel. In a real head-to-head fight, Tuju showed all his strength, but he was still not an opponent. Too strong. These seniors are incredibly strong. If you know you're lacking, keep working hard. No one is born that strong. Sawamura comforted. 2 innings are over. The freshmen were slaughtered without the ability to fight back. Pitcher and outfielder substitution. Furuya comes on the field. Of the 5 freshman pitchers, 3 have already played and 2 remain. There are also the 2 with the highest expectations. One is Furuya and the other is Sawamura. Go! Sawamura patted Furuya on the shoulder and said with a smile. Furuya said nothing, nodded, and went straight to the pitcher's mound. The next scene left the audience silent. Furuya stood on the pitcher's mound, firmly grasped the baseball with 2 fingers, and then threw the ball fiercely. Boom! The ball was shot as if a cannonball exploded and went straight to the top of the plate. Now the catcher who is catching the ball is Kariba. When he saw Furuya's ball, he was stunned. What is this? Bang! The mitt didn't touch the ball, and the baseball went straight past the catcher and hit the referee Kataoka in the face. The protective mask on his face was smashed and flew out, and Kataoka's head was thrown back by the ball, but his feet remained motionless. This is decent, Kataoka said with a big grin on his face, and then continued. Furuya, you are qualified. Starting tomorrow, you are training with the first string. 11. Chapter 11. Ace's aura. Coach, please give us a chance. We'll hit it. Seeing Furuya's pitching, the older students were shocked. They never thought that once Furuya stood on the pitcher's mound, the throw would be so terrifying. But they will never give in. That pitch just now still can't scare them. None of them wanted to give the first-year places in the first string. It doesn't make any sense to keep going. The first year can't catch his throw. Kataoka was very happy, standing in his position and seeing more clearly. If Sawamura is the diamond he was looking forward to, then Furuya is the gold that came up unexpectedly. Although it is not polished yet, it is fun to gaze at. Such an unexpected gain. Nodding, Kataoka turned his attention to Sawamura. Next is the main event. Pitcher substitution. Sawamura Eijun plays. In the freshman's shed, a young pitcher's voice was heard. It's my turn. Sawamura stood up and walked up to the pitcher's mound. At this time, the fielders on the field also gathered. So, coach, do you have any plans? The mentality and energy of the first-year players are all about to be used up, and now the only one who can support them is Sawamura. Because Sawamura has not yet played, the players are not yet desperate. To a certain extent, Sawamura became the new player's last life-saving straw. Usually, that is the case for the less talented players, but for the players with strength, it should not be like this. But right now is the time when they're most mentally vulnerable. When people are vulnerable, it is easy to pin their hopes on others. Specifically, for a player with Sawamura's experience that is so legendary. In the same year, almost no one did not know about Sawamura's deeds. Even Kanemaru, when he realized that he was powerless, the first thing that came to his mind was Sawamura. Just follow your defense tactics just now. You don't have to do anything special. What you did before is what you would do now. Sawamura said lightly. I'll let them keep swinging, and the defense behind me will be up to you. What? The players looked at Sawamura in astonishment, not understanding what he said. Wait a minute. If I remember, it seems that when I watched Akaji's game, there was also such a catchphrase. A few freshmen who liked watching Sawamura's games immediately understood and showed a smile. Okay, let it fly. Let the balls come over. We will definitely stop it. They responded to Sawamura from the pitcher's mound. Kanemaru looked at this, then looked at that. Are you crazy? Just now? Didn't you just keep messing up? Kariba covered his mouth with his gloves and approached Sawamura. So if you say that, you have to throw a decent ball. Do not worry. Sawamura gave the young catcher a confident smile. By the way, what kind of pitch do you throw? Kariba asked. Like a man, I won't run away. I've always won my fights with straight balls. I like straight balls in the center the most. Motherf, the catcher wanted to swear. Even if it's a joke, don't joke like that. Relax, have a peace of mind. By the way, Kariba, what are the fastest straight balls you can catch? Sawamura asked suddenly. Don't underestimate me. I'm a graduate of a famous junior baseball team. I can catch a 135-kilometer straight ball. 135 kilometers. Sawamura frowned, then smiled. Not bad. Not bad. As expected of Kariba, he is really capable. The young catcher looked at Sawamura suspiciously. I'm not happy at all to be praised by you so much. I've seen your pitches before. Don't worry, I'll definitely catch it. Then please. Sawamura laughed. Okay guys, let's start the game. The game resumes. 1 strike, no balls. The third-year batter, standing in the strike zone, looked at Sawamura with a serious face. On the mound, Sawamura showed a bright smile at the batter. The alumni and seniors watching the game also held their breaths. They did not expect that Sawamura would choose Sidu. Sawamura, who is known as the Demon King, let's see what the strength of dose he has. With such doubts in mind, they can watch the game without saying a word. The balls will come flying. Everyone in the back, please take care of me. The reappearance of the familiar catchphrase made many people who had watched Sawamura's game before laugh. Seeing Sawamura shouting loudly on the mound, this feeling is very nostalgic. Pitch to contact. We will definitely stop it. With the previous talk on the pitching mound this time, the other players no longer hesitate to do it. After exchanging cheers like this for a while, the momentum of the newcomers suddenly rose up. Damn it, he really is a big star. The aura of a major league. Show your strength, Demon Lord. The audience was also boiling. Pitchers, catchers, fielders, spectators. Since Sawamura came on stage, in just 5 minutes, everyone seemed to be on Sawamura's side. In the corner, Miyuki shook his head with emotion. This guy, his aura is stronger. Some people are naturally charismatic. It's like singing. He doesn't necessarily sing well, but it just makes people want to sing along. Sawamura is such a person. As long as he stands on the mound, his teammates seem to be able to feel endless motivation. In the shed, the corners of Kaminato Haruchi's mouth twitched up, as expected of Eijun Kun. In the second half of the third inning, the game continues. The older team attacked. Facing the first opponent, Sawamura threw the first ball into the inner corner. Whoosh! The white ball, like a laser beam, traveled the distance from the pitcher to the plate. So fast! On the first pitch, the batter did not swing. Snap! Strike! After 2 strikes, the batter was chased. Previously, Furuya threw a strike. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura watched Kariba, waiting for the young catcher to give him the ball. Kariba thought about it and gave Sawamura a code for an inside corner pitch. Sawamura nodded and threw the ball. Whoosh! A small white ball flew towards him. In the face of this ball, the batter swings the bat decisively and misses the swing. Snap! Strike batter out. When the Demon King comes on stage, the first out must have an aura. What is it if not a strikeout? Sitting in the position of the catcher, Kariba let out a long breath. Sawamura's inner corner pitch just now didn't hit the strike zone, and neither the speed nor the power of the ball is. Even if it was hit, it would be a foul ball. Nice pitch. With the tacit understanding, the momentum of Kariba's signs also rises. After striking out the first batter, it was the turn of the second string's clean-up to bat. Yamazaki, Mizono, Kawashima. 1 out. After 3 hits, Sawamura stretched out a finger and shouted at the surroundings. 1 out, 1 at a time. Pitch to contact. It is just the second cheering. And now the players respond to Sawamura like they are very familiar with it. 12. Chapter 12. The Ordinary Magic Ball, the strength training room of the baseball club of Sita High School. Several players of the first string are doing strength training. At this time, the door was suddenly pushed open and a third-year student walked in. That boy, he is on the mound. Hearing this, Masuko was doing push-ups and suddenly stopped. The weightlifting Sakai Aikaru also put down the weightlifting equipment. Kominetsu Ryusugu Iseshikiyun and the main force of the third grade stopped their movements one by one. They gathered together very tacitly, like a samurai ready to go to battle. Elegance, with a trace of murderousness. Let's go. Under the leadership of Yuki Tetsuya, the core and main force of the Sidu first string began to rush to the baseball stadium. Kuramochi stared blankly at these seniors, wondering what happened to them. However, his intuition told him that it should be lively to watch. Interesting. Kuramochi was a typical person who would die if he didn't watch the fun. Realizing that there was a lot of fun to watch, he followed up without hesitation. By the time they got to the field, Sawamura had just dealt with the first batter. Now, Sawamura, who won the first out, has to face another third-year senior. Yamazaki Kunio is a senior who is very strong in combat in the third grade. For Sawamura, the Yamazaki were certainly impressive. But after watching Sawamura's pitch just now, he couldn't help but wonder if is this really the Sawamura he saw a year and a half ago? Yes. The current Sawamura has grown more than when he met before. The speed of the ball has increased by about 5 kilometers, and Sawamura's current ball speed should be 135 kilometers. This is very strong in freshmen, but it felt like Yamazaki thought that Sawamura should be stronger now. In 1.5 years, the ball speed soared from 130 to 135. This growth is very reasonable. The higher the ball speed base, the more difficult it is to improve. But Yamazaki just felt that something was not right there. For what they can remember, Sawamura seemed to have change-ups and other strange straight balls. Even for the current third year of Seto High School, Sawamura is very strong. How can the people who have successively defeated Yuki Tetsuya, Kaminato Ryosuke, and Takigawa Chris not be strong? Not to mention, Sawamura also struck out the former captain, Azuma Kayakuni, who was like a monster in their eyes. Although Sawamura is 2 years younger than them, many of them have always regarded Sawamura as the strongest imaginary enemy. Especially after defeating Inishiro's rookie pitcher Narumiya May last year, they were even more jealous of Sawamura. They have seen the horror of Narumiya May. In middle school, Sawamura defeated Narumiya May. How scary is Sawamura? There is absolutely no one among Seto's third-year players who is willing to underestimate Sawamura. As a member of the third grade, Yamazaki always thought of Sawamura as a monster. But now, watching Sawamura's pitching, he couldn't help but doubt. It seems that maybe Sawamura is not as strong as he thinks. It's not that the current Sawamura doesn't look strong, and the current Sawamura's pitching is also very beautiful. But it seems that compared with his memory, it is not as strong as he remembers, which is despairing. Did we get stronger? Or is there something weird in your pitching? At this point, Yamazaki racked his brains and could not figure it out. In the end, he reluctantly gave up the idea of using his brain. No matter, now my task is to hit the ball. After making up his mind, Yamazaki stared at Sawamura on the pitcher's mound without blinking. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura waited for Kariba to give him a signal. Although the game only lasted a little over 2 innings, it was not the first or second time that the young catcher and Yamazaki had played against each other. The other side scored 18 points, and it was the 4th rotation they played. He has a deep understanding of Yamazaki. This senpai is very strong. He scored 2 hits and 3 RBIs before. 2 hits, all are outside corners, and he rarely swings against inside corners. This information flashed across Kariba's mind, and then he decisively gave Sawamura a signal for an inner corner pitch. On the mound, Eijun nodded to the catcher, and then threw an inside corner pitch. Whoosh! A small white ball that goes straight into the inner corner. Strictly speaking, there is nothing wrong with Kariba's calling approach. However, he underestimated the shrewdness of Yamazaki. The senior also knew that he had hit the outside corner twice before, and this time the opponent would definitely target the inside corner to shut him out. So he aimed at the inner corner at the start. Coming, the ball flies to the inside corner. Yamazaki clenched his teeth, aimed at the ball, and decisively swung the bat. Ping! After the white ball was hit, it flew out. High hit. The moment he hit high, Yamazaki himself couldn't believe it. But fortunately, the strict training had already made him form a conditioned reflex. After hitting the ball, he flew to first base immediately. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura looked at the baseball that flew to the side of third base and shouted, "Third baseman!" Kanemaru hardly moved, and the small white ball flew into his glove. Snap! Out! 2 outs, no one on base. Sawamura gave Kanemaru a thumbs up. Good job. Kanemaru was also excited, but more shocked. The ball flew into the glove, as if it had been given an order. Fourth, first baseman Mizono Kena. After 3 hits, it was Mizono's turn to attack, and he was the 4th batter of the second string. Please take care of me. After Mizono stepped onto the plate, It was like an Ashura, giving people a very strong sense of oppression. On the pitcher's mound, there was a smile on the corner of Sawamura's mouth. Unexpectedly, the first contact with Mizuno was on the field. "All right, let me treat you well, Mizuno-senpai." Whoosh. 3 balls in a row, each one Mizuno swings at, but he doesn't hit the ball with a single one. Strike, strike, strike batter out. Mizuno is not in the 3rd grade, and he has never seen the horror of Sawamura before. This sudden attack made him a little confused. Who can tell him what just happened? In the position of the referee, a rare smile appeared on Karioka's face. The onlookers, Yuki, and others, their faces sullen as if they were about to freeze. "This ball is so weird." Isashiki Jun frowned and commented. Looking from the side, it's the most ordinary straight ball, but the Mizuno misses the bat 3 times, and the catcher can catch the ball steadily. "That stinky boy, can he do magic?" "It's not magic, it's pitching." The Yuki Tetsuya's gaze was more precise. "It's a matter of pitching. There is a mystery in that pitch that we haven't penetrated." 3 outs, offense and defense exchange. 2 strikeouts, 1 shutout. Sawamura played, and the senior team went up and down 3 times. 13. Chapter 13. The Horn of the Counterattack. It is good. Nice job. As expected of Demon Lord of the middle school, he is really awesome. It is hard to believe he was a middle school student a month ago. The alumni and seniors of Seto High School, who had seen Furuya already very surprised, were all excited and incoherent at this time. For Seto, who lacked pitchers, Sawamura's appearance was undoubtedly like a savior. Although Furuya's pitching was also very pleasant, looking at his form, he knew that Furuya belonged to that kind of wild pitcher. Sawamura is different. Sawamura's every move is full of professionalism. This is a very experienced, very mature pitcher. Drag him to the field, and he'll be of use. Not to mention Furuya, by the summer of this year, Sawamura will undoubtedly become the main force of Seto. Sawamura didn't have stage fright. He smiled and waved at the seniors and alumni. He naturally carried such a star aura. He had 10 years of experience as a pro after all. Seeing Sawamura's response, the audience also became more enthusiastic. In an instant, Sawamura became the focus of the audience. "TSK, this stinky boy, he is really in the limelight," Isashiki said in annoyance. "Jun-san, Sawamura is already a big star. Not to mention those who just entered high school this year. Even in the entire high school circle, there are only a handful of people whose fame can be compared with Sawamura." On the surface, Kuramochi explained for Sawamura, but in fact, he harbored evil intentions. As roommates in the same dormitory, although they get along well normally, Kuramochi is naturally hostile to geniuses like Sawamura. It's the same reason that the rich second generation are displeased with self-made businessmen. It's not that the rich second generation are disgusting. They just think you are better, and they can't do anything about it. Seeing that Sawamura was envied, Kuramochi didn't mind adding fuel to the fire. Scum! Looking at the popularity of Sawamura, Isashiki, Kuramochi, and Ryosuke immediately felt the same hatred. Tetsuya glanced at the 3 of them helplessly, but said nothing. In this regard, even as the captain of the team, Yuki is helpless. Watch the game well. In the first half of the 4th inning, the freshmen attacked. Because the freshman team had not scored any hits before, they started this inning from the first batter. Sawamura replaced Tuju as the second player of the freshman team. In the first batch of players to play, the pitcher was Kaneda. This second batter position belongs to Kaneda, and he was replaced until it got to Eijun. The defense has gradually stabilized, and the next step is to think about how to score. Sawamura called all the new students together and began to arrange tactics. This inning is a good opportunity for us. It's the top line's turn to play. Most of you have seen Tampa Senpai's pitching before, and I think we are mentally prepared. The first thing we have to do is to adapt to him. The speed of the ball, find a way to hit the ball first. Once someone hits the base, use the safest way to score. By the way, who of you has practiced bunts? When asked by Sawamura, several freshmen shook their heads. Don't look at these people who were beaten badly by the seniors of Seto now. But when they were in middle school, they were the 4th batters, and they were beaten hard. They're all the cleaners in the team. Why would they go to hone tactical bunts? Sawamura was speechless for a while. Forget it, just hit and run when necessary. Although the success rate is lower this way, as long as we reduce the swing range, it should not be difficult to hit the ball. Whether the ball is caught or hits the ground, we have to run with all our strength. The opponent's strength is not as strong as we imagined. Remember one thing, don't be too ambitious, thinking about getting the score back in one breath. The most important thing is to show your own skills and strength. Our opponents are not just the senpais. Our opponents are also ourselves. Yes. Hearing Sawamura's order, a few players couldn't help but answer. After answering, he saw the players around were looking at them stupidly. So embarrassing before they knew it. The first-year players had begun to regard Sawamura as a real coach. In the first half of the fourth inning, the freshman attacked, and this time it was the first turn. For 2 consecutive swings, the first-year player missed Tampa's pitch. It was not until the third throw that he barely touched the ball and hit into the field. The ball flew to the side of the third base, and the third baseman stepped forward to catch the ball and then passed it to the front of the first base. Out! The freshman who didn't hit a hit had a hint of disappointment on his face. It's all right, we started to touch the ball gradually, isn't it? Sawamura walked opposite to him, smiled, and comforted. The freshman was stunned for a moment, then relieved. It seems that this is the case. He has gradually started to touch Tampa's senpai's ball. Unlike the first inning, he felt like he couldn't touch the ball at all. Now, he no longer has that kind of despair. Once out, no one got on base, and it was Sawamura's turn to bat. Sawamura entered the strike zone like a spring breeze, a curved ball, as if it suddenly fell from a high altitude. Please let me see your curveball, Tampa's senpai. Sawamura, who was standing in the box, held the bat high in his hand, and his entire hitting form was extremely formal. Bring it on. The catcher, Miyachi, frowned, and Tampa on the pitcher's mound was in high spirits. The catcher felt that the momentum of the first-year team began to rise. Whether it was attacking or defending, they all began to show their fighting spirit. And now Tampa's fighting spirit is also very high. You got it then. The first ball, a straight to the inside corner. With an idea, Miyachi decided to give Tampa a sign for a straight ball from the inside corner. Snap, strike, snap, strike. 2 consecutive pitches, 2 consecutive strikes. Sawamura did not swing. From the corner of his eyes, he glanced at Miyachi strangely. All straight balls, not a single change ball. Is it intentional, or is it a coincidence? Sawamura was a little unsure. He had originally made up his mind to play Tampa's winning shot, but Tampa just didn't do it. It seems that Tampa and Miyachi seem to have made up their minds to use straight balls to fight Sawamura. These senpais really look down on me. They haven't even studied my pattern at all. Neither Miyachi nor Tampa were good actors, and Sawamura realized their purpose with little attention. They were clearly determined to use a straight ball to deal with Sawamura. This means that they haven't studied Sawamura's attack pattern, and Sawamura doesn't believe it. TSK, do you think I can't do anything with straight balls? It is not like I was focusing only on pitching in my middle school. Whoosh! The white ball whizzed. On the strike zone, Sawamura's body turned like a windmill, and the bat in his hand slammed on the flying white ball. Sawamura was not only the ace and also the coach at Akaji Middle School. Ping! He was also the 4th batter, with a big record of home runs. The white ball was pumped out and landed behind the second baseman. After the baseball was hit, Sawamura threw away his bat and started running forward. He ran to second base in one breath and stopped when the outfielder picked up the ball. Safe! The first hit of the freshman appeared, producer Sawamura Eijun. Standing on a second base's bag, Sawamura clenched his fists, somewhat uncomfortable. The ball is heavier than he thought. Tampa has not been in Sidu for the past 2 years in vain. His ball speed and ball power have been honed well. But even so, Sawamura sounded the horn call for the freshman to fight back. 14. Chapter 14. Duel on bases, 1 out. A runner at second base. This kind of duel makes people a little confused and don't know. In the face of opponents like Sawamura, why did Tampa not use his own high curveball, but a normal straight ball instead? In fact, apart from these seniors in the 3rd grade, Sawamura, who was attacked, and Miyuki, who was watching, could see the reason. Because he paid attention to Sawamura, he also investigated all the information of Sawamura. Sawamura hit more than 20 home runs throughout his middle school years. Most of them, almost 80%, are breaking balls. Although it looks weird, according to the data, Sawamura is really not good at dealing with strong straight balls, but prefers to play breaking balls. The information will not lie, no matter how unbelievable it is, but Sawamura is good at playing tricky balls. It is a fact. It seems that both Tampa Senpai and Maiachi Senpai have also noticed this. Then what are you going to do? Simply Sawamura reaching second base is useless. So Miyuki was very interested in Sawamura's next actions. On the other hand, the faces of several third years were not very good looking. The hit isn't anything sloppy at all. There is nothing to say about the swinging. Although it is not very visible, it is very solid. Even his batting is strong. Just like a little monster. Everyone talks and comments on Sawamura. It seemed that they were all praising Sawamura, but there was confidence in their eyes, as if the person standing on the field was him. He will never lose. The 2 years of training in high school have made these guys reborn, both physically and mentally. They have absolute confidence in themselves. Third, outfielder Takamoto. It was Maiachi's turn to face the core lineup of the freshmen. Before pitching, Tampa gave Sawamura a fierce look. Sawamura stayed on second base honestly, without the slightest movement. Tampa relaxes and prepares to pitch. At this time, Sawamura had already started to accelerate in small steps, creeping towards third base. Second base. The catcher, Maiachi, like a rhino, exhaled 2 breaths from his nose, ready to remind Tampa to contain Sawamura. On the mound, Tampa was completely immersed in his own pitching, with his feet already outstretched in the act of pitching. That's too late. Maiachi made a judgment in an instant, and now he stopped reminding Tampa, waiting to catch the ball. The small white ball, like a meteor falling to the ground, went around the side of the batter's body. Even if he had seen it once, Takamoto took a half step back in fright. At this time, Sawamura was close to third base because of the rush. Stop looking down on people. Maiachi caught the ball and passed it to third base without hesitation. The third baseman caught the ball and turned around to stop Sawamura, but there was still Sawamura in front of him. After approaching third base, Sawamura slipped a nice slide and threw himself on the bag. Safe. The referee looked at Sawamura in surprise and was stunned for a second before he announced. Sawamura stood up as if nothing had happened and gave Takamoto a thumbs up. Takamoto felt a little ashamed. He actually backed away just now. Next time, absolutely can't go back. Be sure to knock the ball out. 1 out, runner at third base. The freshman now in a very good scoring opportunity. The timing was just now. It was a great choice, especially when the pitcher and catcher are paying attention to him. He has the guts to act. The unstoppable Sawamura really lives up to his reputation. At this time, no one had taken Sawamura as a freshman anymore. With such a skill, there might be something that ordinary first year can compare to. On the mound, Tampa's face was very ugly. Looking back now, the glance he used to restrain Sawamura in his eyes not only did not have any effect, but instead helped Sawamura steal. If it wasn't for Tampa's determination that Sawamura would not steal bases, it might not have been too late to steal third bases at Sawamura's speed. Miyuki, who was watching, widened his eyes and looked at Sawamura. This guy is really interesting. Such an opportunity to steal bases is so small. I didn't expect that such a time difference was caught by Sawamura. Amazing, really amazing. On the strike zone, Takamoto kept hinting to himself that he must hit the ball, and he must hit the ball. The tactics before playing, everyone has been discussed. 1 out, runner at third base. With a beat and a run, Sawamura will run regardless of the outcome. As long as the ball lands, they have a chance. At this point, Maiachi obviously also thought of it, and he took the time to give the infielders a signal to let them move forward to guard. In this way, even if the freshman uses the bunt, there is not much chance. With everything ready, Maiachi gives Tampa the ball. On the pitching mound, Tampa nodded and threw the crucial shot. At the moment Tampa pitched, Sawamura had already started running to the plate. Steal home plate directly? Isashiki looked at Sawamura in disbelief. Is he crazy? No, it's forced to take points. Takamoto, who had never hit the ball, swung decisively. Ping! The white ball was hit and bounced high. A hit. Takamoto was overjoyed, then threw away his bat and ran forward. Sawamura, who was running from third base to home base, was shocked when he saw where the ball landed from the corner of his eye. He braked suddenly, turned, and ran to third base. Why here? After the pitch was released, Tampa rushed forward, and the ball that had just bounced happened to land in front of him. Tampa opened his glove and caught the ball. The steal was killed. In that case, Sawamura would be useless even if he ran a home plate. Baseball rules. If the runner is at third base, if the batter is caught, the runner must return to the third base bag to start the run to steal base. Otherwise, if you don't get back to third base in time, or you get hit, you're out. Sawamura just realized that Tampa would kill Takamoto, so he desperately rushed to third base. Snap! The third baseman received Tampa's pass and did not give Sawamura a chance to return to base. Thanks for your hard work. His glove touched Sawamura's body. Double kill. Double kill. The catcher, pitcher, and third baseman worked together seamlessly. In the face of the freshman team's raid, the old student's defense was well organized. Sawamura spread his hands helplessly and gave the old students a thumbs up. Got it, it's amazing. 3 outs, offense and defense exchange. Tampa is qualified. As long as you restore your original characteristics and rhythm, you'll be our main pitcher. The referee, Kataoka, was very satisfied with Tampa's performance just now. After the 5th inning, you can leave the game. You will start training with the first string in the afternoon. Yes. Tampa was very excited to answer. Sawamura returned to the freshman team. How can you be reckless? Kanemaru asked Sawamura angrily. He didn't mean to find fault. He just felt sorry. The freshman team finally won a hit, and it just disappeared. Sawamura shrugged. The gap in strength is so big. If we didn't have the determination to break the boat, how could we have shaken these seniors? In fact, according to Sawamura's original script, he hoped that Takamoto would fail. In this way, he can directly confront Miyachi-senpai at the home plate unexpectedly. Takamoto's performance was better than he imagined, and he actually hit Tampa's ball so that he would have a hard time riding Tiger. Change your mood. It's time for us to defend. In the second half of the 4th inning, the seniors team attacked. 15. Chapter 15. The truth about Magic Ball. After a fierce on-base duel, the freshman team attack ended and the teams switched, and the senior team's 5th batter stepped out. 5th batter, 2nd grade, Kawashima. Kawashima is an outfielder and also a pitcher. Now that the pitcher is Tampa, he can only shine in the outfielder position. Kawashima's overall strength is very good, especially his attacking strength. Although he is only in the 2nd year, his attack has already surpassed most of the 3rd-year seniors. Kawashima was followed by Miyachi in 6th and Tampa in 7th. To a certain extent, these 3 people are more difficult to deal with in the combination of the cleanups and the Mizuno. Kawashima stood in the box, constantly recalling the information that Mizuno had exchanged with him before. That kind of pitch seems to be a ball on purpose. I thought it would be a straight ball at first, but I didn't expect it to be a ball or a foul. A moving fastball. Kawashima has never heard of it. What kind of ball is that? Just when he was thinking, Sawamura's pitch came. Whoosh! The white ball flew straight into the strike zone. The ball path is to the inside corner. Kawashima didn't hesitate and swung his bat directly. Ping! In his days in Cebu, he has developed a habit of never letting go of sweet balls. Although Sawamura threw the ball into the inner corner, the position was very sweet. This ball, Kawashima will never let go. Ping! The ball was hit and went straight between the third base and the shortstop. Third baseman. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura reminded the fielder. Snap! Kanemaru jumped up and took the ball off. Out! The alumni who saw this scene were filled with regret. It almost flew out. The third baseman just now. Why did he appear there? I caught the ball, said Kanemaru on the pitcher's mound. Sawamura lifted the corner of his mouth. You caught the ball? That ball was originally thrown for you, okay? 1 out, no one on the bases. The next batter is the 6th batter, Miyachi. Miyachi looked like a bison, standing in the batting zone. His remarkable feature is his strong, striking power. At this time, Kariba gave Sawamura a sign, inside corner. Inside corner? Sawamura frowned and shook his head slightly. This is the first time that Sawamura has objected to Kariba's distribution of the ball. The young catcher thought for a while and gave Sawamura a signal for the outside corner. This time, Sawamura nodded slightly. Whoosh! The sharp-pitched ball flew close to the outside corner. As if a train was running at full power, Maiachi stared at the ball thrown by Sawamura and then unceremoniously swung the bat. Buzz! The loud sound of swinging the bat shocked Kariba, who was in the position of the catcher and couldn't help but feel his heart skip a beat. He hadn't found out before that this senior was this strong. The bat was aimed at the baseball, and it missed the ball. In front of the bat, there is no baseball at all. Snap! Strike! The eyes of Maiachi are almost red. Soon enough, another pitch was thrown. Strike! 2 strikes, 0 ball. Weird! So weird! How did the ball suddenly get out of place when it was close to the bat? Is it a slider? No. If it's a slider, the path of the ball should be visible. It feels like the ball just didn't move. Just when Maiachi was unclear, Sawamura's third pitch came. So caught off guard, the third-year batter who was chased could only bite the bullet and swing the club. Whoosh! As soon as he swung the bat, Maiachi knew that he had missed the ball, and he didn't aim at the baseball at all. It's over, he lamented in his heart, waiting to be struck out. Ping! What he didn't expect was that, with a despairing swing, he hit the ball sharply. The baseball keeps flying, and falls in the outfield. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura had a strange expression on his face. Takamoto. Stunned for a moment, Sawamura reminded the outfielder Takamoto to catch the ball. Takamoto had been prepared for a long time, and, at this time, he easily took the flying ball. Out. 2 outs, no one on base. The straight ball that seems to be unremarkable is gaining outs again and again, which is too weird. The seniors and alumni are sinking into the water one by one, and they don't know why. What is happening with Sawamura's pitching? After Maiachi was out, in the face of others' gazes, he didn't say a word. He wanted to say it, but he also didn't understand what was going on. So what could he say? Maiachi still didn't understand what was going on, but a few onlookers raised their eyebrows. It's his body. It's his form. Tetsuya and Ryosuke said almost at the same time. Although they said different things, they saw the mystery of Sawamura's pitching almost at the same time. Miyuki, who had partnered with Sawamura before, saw this more clearly. Naturally soft arms and joints give him the flexibility to throw the ball in any position. Then by changing the stance with the foot he steps out of, it creates a contrast that makes the hitter look like he's throwing to the strike zone. But it is actually a ball. Miyuki exclaimed in his mind. Great idea. He has to say that Sawamura's pitching style is very mature. He made the most of all his characteristics. Like this pitch, it's easier said than done. But without a body like Sawamura's, it's impossible to do it without a lot of practice. Simple is best. Like the straight fastball, this kind of ball was also one of Sawamura's previous tricks to press the bottom of the box. Combined with Sawamura's ever-changing pitching, it often leaves major league batters helpless. Of course, it was the first time Sawamura used it continuously like this. If Sawamura pitched like this in the major leagues, he would have been beaten long ago. In theory, the big league hitters don't have any shots they are bad at, as long as you tell them what you will throw next. Then you waiting to be tortured. At first, Sawamura didn't want to pitch like this, but there is no other way. He has to cooperate with Kariba's catching capability. If the ball is too hard to catch, then there is too much risk. Unlike this kind of ball, almost anyone can catch it. And the ball has another benefit. Because Sawamura threw the ball according to Kariba's instructions, Kariba continued to score the number of outs by matching the ball himself, and his confidence also came out. In fact, Kariba, the first-year catcher, is very excited now. He couldn't help but acknowledge how good he was. Too good, really too good. You look at Tuju, who often shakes his head at his calling and loses 6 points. Sawamura's ball speed is not much faster than Tuju's, and he shoots according to his own call, also using straight balls, and get 5 outs in a row. My pitch calling is effective even for the senpais. The increasing number of outs gave Kariba more confidence. The fielders also showed some performance on the field, and their self-confidence began to build up little by little. Strike, batter out. After striking out Tampa, Sawamura shut out the seniors team again. Chapter 16, A wonderful little misunderstanding. How embarrassing. It's like an adult playing with a child. When regarding baseball, Takashima's evaluations are very strict. These players of the second string are still very strong, but they lacked in skills and experience compared to Sawamura. 2 years ago, Sawamura defeated Chris, Yuki, and Kaminato Ryosuke. Now that 2 years have passed, it is easy to clean up these batters who have not even entered the first string. Takashima Rei even knew that Sawamura had deliberately suppressed his strength because he wanted to cooperate with the first-year catcher. If not, it would be possible for him to strike out everyone. Strong as a monster. Oda was aware of Sawamura's strength, but after watching today's game, he couldn't help being horrified. Sawamura would be so strong. I can't take it anymore. I want to play. Isashiki Jun couldn't help but want to play when watching his juniors being abused to such a degree by Sawamura. Stop. The captain called him off immediately. Our teammates haven't shown their best. How can we play? Kuramochi giggled and said, Jun-san, don't worry too much. We are teammates of the same team, and I believe there will be opportunities. He said words of consolation, but in fact, he also complained in his heart. Look at you running your mouth, as if you can go up if you want. Who plays and who doesn't? It's not Isashiki who has the final say. After all, it depends on what Kataoka wants. In the position of the referee, Kataoka watched the game continue calmly. In the fifth inning, neither side scored, and all batters were shut out. After that, in the seniors team, the pitcher was replaced by Kawakami, and Tampa went off. His performance in this game was really impressive. The scene of the double play off Sawamura perfectly shows the attitude of the ace. In the first half of the sixth inning, the freshman attacked. Kawakami's pitching is not as scary and tricky as Tampa's, but he also has his own set by getting the batters to keep hitting the ball and relying on the fielding to get the outs. Kawakami did very well. In addition, he is a side thrower, so it is really difficult to hit the ball that looks like it is coming from the back of the batter. After he played in the sixth inning, he quickly scored 3 outs. So far, no freshman has had a single hit except for Sawamura's one. In the second half of the sixth inning, the seniors team attacked. Sawamura pitched to contact and got a lot of grounders, easily shutting out the seniors team again. In this way, the game unknowingly came to the seventh inning, and the situation on the field, the first years and the seniors gradually began to get accustomed to each other. In the position of the referee, Kataoka's eyes never left Sawamura. He knew that Sawamura was very talented and experienced and should be a pitcher with a high degree of completion, but he never thought that Sawamura's degree of completion would be so high. High school baseball is a typical game where strong and weak matter. In fact, it is not only high school baseball, but also middle school baseball. In middle school, because of the problem of developing sooner or later, there will be a problem of throwing a strong pitch and hitting the weak balls. A freshman who can directly enter the first string to be used as a combat force. This kind of genius is rare. Among these geniuses, batters account for the vast majority. A pitcher like Sawamura, who can play directly in high school, even in the whole nation, is very rare. He is really a treasure. Kataoka sighed in his heart that he believed that there was no need to continue this game. But if it is announced that it is over, these senior players will not be reconciled. There are 3 innings left, so let me see how far you can hold on. The game continued, and in the first half of the 7th inning, the freshman attacked. Strike, strike, batter out. The first batter was mercilessly struck out by Kawakami, the kind of pitch that seems to be coming around from behind the batter, so that the freshman can't find the timing for the swing. Speaking of, this game is extremely unfair to freshmen. Although it was a match between the second string and the first year, the 2 pitchers were the strongest ace and backup pitcher in Sidu, and the catcher was the backup of the first string. Although most of the batters were from the second string, the battery were all from the first string. If it wasn't for Sawamura's understanding of Tampa's pitching, it would have been difficult for him to hit the previous ball. But this is Sidu's style. 1 out, no one on base, and it was Sawamura's turn to bat. As soon as Sawamura stood in the box, he faintly heard the sound of the seniors sucking in the air. This is embarrassing. It makes me like a devil. The current Sawamura, in the eyes of the third-year senior, is similar to the devil. After standing in the box, Sawamura raised the bat in his hand high, and then his entire body relaxed completely. No part of his body was deliberately exerting force. He just stared coldly at the pitcher mound. Kawakami. This guy is glaring at his senpai. Kawakami was quite emotional. He has a good relationship with Azuma, and from the respected senior, he has heard a lot of legends about Sawamura's impoliteness. Most importantly, Azuma also told him, "Don't give the ace number to the Kohai." That so-called junior kid was talking about Sawamura, right? With a decision made in his heart, Kawakami began to prepare to throw his proud slider. Then he saw the senior Maiachi in the position of the catcher and gave him a signal. Straight ball. Straight ball. Why? Kawakami does not understand. Tampa, the ace of Sidu, is not a pitcher who is good at straight balls, and his ball power is not very strong. At least among the aces in the third grade, Tampa's straight ball is not a tough one. And Kawakami is even more so. His straight ball power is extremely small. If it weren't for taking advantage of the slider, his straight pitch would hardly even be a weapon. His weapons are ball control and breaking balls. In this case, why use the straight ball, which he is not good at, to challenge Sawamura, who is very good at batting? Kawakami is puzzled. Trust me, Maiachi's answer is simple. The data won't lie, and what Sawamura is not good at dealing with is straight balls. Although Kawakami had some doubts in his heart, he still threw the ball according to Maiachi Keisuke's request. Whoosh! On the first pitch, Kawakami threw a straight that strayed a bit from the inside corner of the strike zone. This ball, Sawamura did not swing. Ball! Sawamura's nose was almost crooked when he saw the baseball dig into the glove of the catcher. This is a straight ball, where it is the breaking balls to deal with me. In fact, Maiachi or many people who study Sawamura have misunderstood. Sawamura is not bad at hitting straights. He is just not good at hitting heavy balls. He has experience and strike skills. It's just that due to developmental reasons and the characteristics of his own body, he doesn't have a strong swing. So in middle school, he avoided hitting straight balls. It's not that he can't hit straight balls, but it's hard to hit straight balls that have much power. And even then, he still has a very big record. But Kawakami's straight, is it considered a powerful ball? Isn't this just a wonderful little misunderstanding? A smirk appeared at the corner of Sawamura's mouth. In baseball, wrong judgment can be fatal. 17. Chapter 17. The Almighty Demon. Sawamura has the experience of his previous life, but what he lacks is the proficiency of the body and the power to strike. In addition, there's another point, that is Sawamura's body. All strong players have a common feature. Their body is hard enough. On the contrary, Sawamura's body is very soft. This characteristic gives Sawamura unparalleled pitching talent, but it also limits Sawamura's batting. The greater his range of motion, the greater his power. Whether it's batting or pitching, it's multiplied. Especially when pitching, when Sawamura's body pulls a lot, he can directly improve his ball speed and break. At the expense of ball control, the greater the range of motion, the worse Sawamura's ball control. The same is true of batting. Sawamura, who turned his body with all his strength, was no worse than any strong batters, simply speaking of strength. But in the same way, if he swings too widely, it will affect his aiming. He can see the ball with his eyes, but his body will deviate when he swings the bat. After entering the professional league, to improve his batting power, Sawamura deliberately honed his narrow swinging technique. This greatly improved his attacking strength. But in the same way, this swing also limited Sawamura's strength. Right now, Sawamura's batting power is not even 60% of his full strength. This is also the reason why he is often powerless in the face of the straight ball with a lot of power. Heaven is fair. While bestowing Sawamura's unparalleled talent, it also limits Sawamura's other strengths. The data collected by Sidu's third grade before is not wrong. Sawamura's straight ball hitting rate is indeed not as high as that of breaking balls. But they didn't know that the reason why Sawamura was bad at hitting straights was not because he was not good at hitting straights, but because of his lack of strength. On the mound, Kawakami threw his second pitch. Sawamura is hitting from the left. So for him, Kawakami's pitch didn't look like it was coming around behind him, but rather like a wide crossfire pitch. This kind of ball, it seems, is very prone to visual misalignment. Honestly, Kawakami's side throws are still pretty good. If his level is not that high, he will not be selected for Sidhu's first string. Even with Sawamura's experience, he had to be careful with Kawakami's pitching. He put his eyes firmly on Kawakami's body, waiting to see Kawakami's every move. Originally, he was asked to throw a straight by the third-year catcher, and Kawakami felt confused, but when Sawamura saw it, it was even more hairy. Whoosh! The pitch is good, the angle is not bad, but the ball does not have momentum at all. On the batting zone, Sawamura felt his eyes lit up. Here's his chance. The bat in his hand was raised high, and Sawamura's body leaned forward slightly so that he reduced his swing to a certain extent. And it's now. At the right moment, the bat in Sawamura's hand roared out. Ping! The white ball was hit and flew out. The speed of this ball is so fast that people can only see the afterimage of the white ball. Snap! Like a shooting star, the ball flew out of the field at a very fast speed and hit the fence net. Home run. It was a home run. The first home run of the game was not hit by a senior, but by a freshman. Ashiash. Sawamura himself was also very excited. Although he felt that he was hitting well, he did not expect it to be a home run. Ow! The first-year players are a little excited. Regardless of the previous 2 innings, the score of the 2 sides from the third inning has been the same. They didn't expect that the first to break the deadlock was not the seniors, but them. Kaminato Ryosuke, who was on the sidelines, looked at Sawamura enviously. After he got in, played 2 at bat, hit a double and a home run, his performance was eye-catching. This brat is too strong. Kurimochi looked at Sawamura in disbelief. He shared a dormitory with Sawamura, and he had never heard the name of Sawamura before. Most high school players have a hard time paying attention to middle school games. For them, it is too childish. Later, when a girl in the same class asked him to send a love letter to Sawamura, he vaguely knew that Sawamura should be famous in middle school. Although he withheld all the love letters, his jealousy towards Sawamura was secretly buried in his heart. At first I thought this guy was just a little bit strong, but now it looks like he's strong. He's really powerful. Pitching, batting, fielding. Looks like it's time for Sidhu to turn around. The great Demon King Sawamura really deserves his reputation. Those Sidhu seniors and alumni were also full of admiration. As fans of Sidhu High School, they will naturally love Sawamura. Total score, 18-1. The freshman team recovered a point. Sawamura glanced at the score. The gap is really big. I originally thought that by mobilizing the enthusiasm of freshmen, we could get a few points. I can't think of a tie, but 3 or 4 points should be okay, right? The result, of course, is not that simple. Whether it's Tampa or Kawakami, it's not something that the current rookies can handle. Coupled with the iron wall of defense in the back, it is even more difficult for them to recover the score. A long way to go. With a sigh, Sawamura returned to the bench and watched the game continue. Mayachi and Kawakami are indeed members of the Sidhu first string. After being hit with a home run, they did not panic, but quickly stabilized the situation. Takamoto, the third batter, was shut out easily and also struck out the fourth batter Kanemaru afterward. 3 outs, offense, and defense exchange. In the second half of the 7th inning, the second/third-year team attacked. After all, this is the second time that Sawamura has fought against the Cleaners and Mizuno. This time Sawamura showed a brand new pitch, and his pitches seemed to be sweet, making it easy for the batter to swing. But after hitting the ball with the bat, the balls became very weird, looking erratic and without a good contact. Freshmen can easily pick up the baseball and shut the batter out. Out. 1 strikeout, 2 grounders for the infielders to block. 3 outs, offense and defense exchange. Since Sawamura came on the field, the seniors team has not even hit a single hit, let alone a score. Now these older students looked at Sawamura with almost a trace of fear in their eyes. Good, very good. Sawamura is not discouraged. As the acting coach he commanded, we still have 2 innings. As long as the pitcher collapses, we will definitely have a chance. What chance? Sawamura didn't say it, and the players didn't ask. They just felt like they were following Sawamura and were full of energy. Awesome. Miyuki, who was watching, was a little itchy. Sawamura and a group of freshmen who were at least 2 grades weaker than the older students, and the seniors were powerless to fight back. It's said that this guy is a little monster, but it's as simple as a little monster there. He's just almighty and super big demon. Miyuki's eyes lit up, and he was a little excited, thinking excitedly, how should he attack this big beast himself? 18. Chapter 18. I'll do it. The in-team match unknowingly came to the 9th inning, and the score on the field was still 18-1. At this time, Sawamura has conquered everyone with his outstanding performance. The 2 direct competitors, Tampa and Furuya, all looked at Sawamura's performance on the pitching mound stupidly. Tampa was shocked by Sawamura's endless pitching skills, and Furuya Satoru was shocked by Sawamura's amazing leadership ability. In Furuya's understanding, he always thought that the job of the pitcher was to throw, but watching Sawamura, he saw something different. He saw how a pitcher can lead a team forward. There is a huge gap between first years and older students, no matter which aspect. But under the leadership of Sawamura, they were stubbornly entangled with the seniors and did not fall behind. The game continued, and in the first half of the 9th inning, the freshmen attacked. Ping! It was the 8th line's turn to hit, and the 8th batter narrowly hit the ball, and the ball flew high at home plate. Mayachi effortlessly caught the ball in his glove. Out! The 8th batter was shut out. It was the last round, and they hoped to repay Sawamura no matter what and continue the fight at Sawamura's hands. But this task, now it seems, is extremely difficult. Give up. We will never let any freshman on base again, Mayachi said very seriously. They are equally aware of the younger students' plans. Do you still want to continue the fight by Sawamura's hands? In your dreams, now that they have been disgraced by Sawamura, how could they give Sawamura a chance to continue to be arrogant? Sawamura is the 2nd batter, and he has the only hit so far for the freshman. That is to say, there is no accident. The line in the 9th game should stay at the 1st batter. Now the 2nd/3rd year students don't expect to get points from Sawamura. Before it's Sawamura's turn to bat, they will end the game and show the majesty of the seniors, which is their goal now. The next 9th batter, Mayachi and Kawakami, followed suit, striking out the batter. Strike, 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 batter out. 2 outs, no one on base. The freshman offensive seems to be coming to an end. At this time, the 1st batter turns to bat. Come on, it's all on you. Please. The first year put their wishes on the 1st batter. For them, the reason for extending the smooth play to Sawamura is not only to score more points, but also to repay the debt. You know, before Sawamura came on stage, they were on the verge of collapse. The baseball they practiced in middle school and the actual performance they got in high school seemed like nothing. This made the young players couldn't help but doubt themselves. At this time, it was Sawamura who stood up, led them forward, and guided them to show their strength so that they would not be so embarrassed. This kindness is already equivalent to guiding them to play on the spot. In any case, they all want to repay Sawamura. The first hitter, of course, thinks so too. It's just that he saw Kawakami, Mayachi, the Mizono, and the other seniors. He was inexplicably a little timid facing the eyes of these older students who terrorize people. Can he really represent everyone and fulfill this wish? The first batter opened his mouth and was about to say something when he heard an impatient voice in the cowshed saying, "If you are afraid, why don't you give me this opportunity?" The players looked dumbfounded at the young man who came out. "Who are you? Because you have been showing no loopholes, and I haven't gotten a chance to play. It's better to let me take care of it. Graduate from Kanagawa Tehin Middle School. Kaminato Haruchi, please take care of me." Because Kaminato Haruchi never got the chance, he could only sit in the bullpen honestly. At this time, seeing the first batter flinch a little, he stepped forward without hesitation. "Just kidding. The game is in the 9th inning. If he doesn't play again, I'm afraid he won't have a chance. First-year replacements. I'll do it." In this way, Kaminato didn't wait for the others to respond and went on the stage on his own. "Hey, who asked you to go up? You kid is holding a wooden bat. So take it seriously." The first-year players couldn't help but complain. "Just let him go." The coach didn't say anything else. At this time, Sawamura took the initiative to help Haruchi. The guy is already hungry and thirsty to perform. What reason does he have to stop him? Just like that, Kaminado stood in the batting zone. Such a dramatic turn of events amused the audience. Really interesting. This year, they're not only Demon King, but also many interesting newcomers. This is getting even more exciting? Haha. Faced with the sudden appearance of Kaminado, Maiachi and Kawakami have no information on him. Maiachi glanced at Kaminado Haruchi's short grip, which looked like a normal hit. Then try an outside corner pitch first. On the mound, Kawakami nodded. Whoosh. Major Oda looked at Kaminado strangely. There seems to be no mention of him among the freshmen who have performed better. Has he? Takashima Rei folded his arms across her chest and said with a chuckle, graduated from Kanagawa-Tehin Middle School, and the hit rate in middle school is 73%, which is a little higher than that of Sawamura-kun. What? Oda looked at Takashima Rei in disbelief. Better than Sawamura on the strike zone. Seeing Kawakami throwing the ball, Kaminado, who was originally holding a short stick, suddenly changed to a long stick and then aimed at the outside corner and hit it. There is no better ball to play than an outside corner on the first ball for an opponent who doesn't know how I play. Ping! The white ball was hit and flew far into the outfield. With a wooden stick, hit the outfield for a long hit. Kaminado became the second hitter after Sawamura in the freshman. 2 outs, runner at second base. While everyone was still amazed at Kaminado's excellent strike, Sawamura stepped into the strike zone. It's coming, whether you choose to escape or not. The gear of fate will always turn in the direction it should have. The moment he saw Sawamura, Maiachi really had the urge to walk him. But no, in the case of an 18-1 lead, you still have to walk the opponent's batter. Shouldn't he be ashamed? Besides, as seniors, they would never allow themselves to behave in such an unseemly manner. Head-to-head, it is the only choice for Maiachi and Kawakami. The eyes of the two became serious, and it was obvious that they were going to do everything they could to get Sawamura out. In the batting box, Sawamura was equally surprised. The desire of the players, Kaminado went to base. How can he let him down? This ball, no matter what, Sawamura will hit it. 19. Chapter 19. Chris is back. Tokyo International Airport. Chris walked into the lobby of the airport where people came and went. A nostalgic smile was drawn on the corner of his mouth. Speaking of which, it has been 3 months since he left Tokyo. Now that he is back, it feels like a lifetime away. Yes, it's like a lifetime, both mentally and physically. 1.5 years ago, after the duel with the current third year, Sawamura advised Chris to take care of his health more, hoping to help Chris and lower the pressure on his body. But he knew that after seeing Sawamura's strength, Chris felt that the burden on his body was heavier. What Chris thought at the time was, how many monsters like Sawamura are there in Nation? Although he also advised Sawamura not to overtrain, he also understood the truth, but put it on himself, looking at the expectant eyes of Coach Kataoka, surrounded by teammates who were trying to keep up with his footsteps. How could he stop? Just a little more exercise, Supervisor Kataoka, Takashima Rei, and teammates around him have more or less tried to persuade him. But Chris just can't stop. It was 3 months before Sawamura's previous life, and Chris gave up practicing. With such a shoulder injury, likely, he will never be able to play baseball again for the rest of his life. When the result came out from the doctor's mouth, even someone as strong as Chris couldn't help crying. He hates himself, hates God. But in the end, it's all his fault. Fortunately, in the face of desperation, Chris did not abandon himself like his past life counterpart. He immediately chose the road of rehabilitation. As long as there is still a glimmer of hope, he will never give up baseball and return to the field. His hard work paid off, and by the winter of last year, his rehabilitation was almost done. But doctors advised him that since he hasn't recovered, high school baseball is better off. Of course, Chris disagrees. Finally, with the consent of his father, Chris went to the United States to receive the most advanced rehabilitation treatment. Hard work pays off, and after a painful rehabilitation process that no one else could imagine, Chris comes over. 3 months before the start of the summer tournament, he returned to Tokyo and back to Cebu. In the last summer, he did not allow himself to have regrets. Chris, the middle-aged man with blonde hair, holding a folding fan in his hand, said with a smile, "Now that we have negotiated terms with the Golden Eagles, their scouts will pay attention to your performance in Seco High School. It's been a year since you left the field. Do you have the confidence to get back to the main position?" The middle-aged man is Chris's father, a baseball player when he was young, and now a TV comedian. For Chris, his father had high hopes. "Seco is not that simple. It is difficult for Seco to let me be the main force of the team who has been away from the stadium for a full year." Chris said softly, "However, I won't give up, whether it is a string or a catcher. He has to rely on his own hands to win. Otherwise, how would I explain to my peers in the team? How do I explain this to my father who accompanies me to rehabilitate? And how to explain to the Kohai who trusted me and wanted to enter Koshien with me? Where to go first?" Chris's father drove the car from the temporary storage near the airport, loaded Chris, and asked, "Seco?" Chris' father was taken aback, then laughed. "Okay." The car slowly drove towards Seco, and when they arrived at Seco, they saw the in-team match. What a brutal game. The score is 18-1. Huge score gap people cannot ignore. In a famous high school, 3 years of baseball career is enough to make a player reborn. The simplest example is that after graduating from high school, you can directly participate in the professional draft. This alone is enough to prove that the top high school students in the country are definitely not inferior to professional players, especially in a place like Seco. 3 years of training is enough to make people reborn. The freshmen who have just entered the school for less than a month, no matter in that respect, cannot compare with the older students. Seeing the score, Chris' father sighed with emotion. Something seems wrong. The seniors team scored 18 points in the first inning and 6 points in the second inning 10. What about the remaining rounds? 0:0. Most of the other rounds were 0:0, and even in one round, the freshmen counterattacked a point. Any good pitchers? Chris's father is worthy of being a former professional player, and it took almost no time to guess the truth of the incident. Pitcher, of course. When the father and son arrived, the game was in the second half of the 8th inning, and Sawamura was pitching. "I didn't expect this kid to be so powerful," Chris exclaimed sincerely. Don't underestimate these players of the second string. If they are dragged into other teams, they may become the main force or even their star players. Sawamura took a group of freshmen and suppressed the second-string players without the slightest temper, which really surprised Chris. In the first half of the 9th inning, it was the freshmen's turn to attack. Kaminato Haruchi, who was a substitute, attracted everyone's attention to him. For a while, no one noticed that there were more of Chris's father and son in the corner watching the battle. Haruchi hit a double, resulting in 2 outs and a runner on second base. At this time, Sawamura stood in the batting zone. "Bring it on." His eyes were firmly locked on Kawakami. On the pitcher's mound, facing the provocation of his junior, Kawakami, not to be outdone, glared back. "This time, I will never let you hit again." Whoosh. The first ball is a straight ball with the inside corner of the strike zone. Sawamura, who was standing in the strike zone, could see this ball very clearly, so he didn't swing the bat. Snap. The baseball lands in the glove of the catcher. Ball. After receiving the ball, Miyachi couldn't help looking at Sawamura while passing it to Kawakami. The current situation is 2 outs. There is a runner at second base. To put it bluntly, success or failure is here. How to see Sawamura's appearance? He still seems to be very calm, not nervous at all. Could it be that not only the skills, but also the mentality of this guy is the top in the country? Thinking of this, Miyachi's heart sank and his brows also wrinkled. Against a batter like Sawamura, bluffing seemed useless. They can only choose a good pitch to bring a showdown. Next, the second ball. Seeing the signal from the catcher, Kawakami nodded slightly and then threw his second ball with all his strength. Whoosh! The small white ball flew from the right side of Kawakami's body to Sawamura, who was playing on the left. This angle is great. Sawamura saw clearly. Straight ball. Cool, mate. Let's do it. Seeing that the baseball was about to enter his hand, Sawamura decisively swung the bat. Ping. After the white ball was hit, it flew out of bounds. Foul. The count is 1 strike, 1 ball, and the 2 sides are even. On the strike area, Sawamura's face inexplicably turned gloomy. That pitch just now, was it a slider? 20. Chapter 20. Not enough power ping. Foul. 2 consecutive pitches, all hit out of bounds. Eijun's face became strange. He had underestimated his 2 seniors before. They deserved to be players who could get a place in the Sea-Doo first string. After the previous fight, they were very fast and corrected the previous wrong information about him. It's not that Sawamura is bad at hitting straight balls, he just doesn't have a strong swing. It has to be explained here. The batter also has his own style. Just like some powerful pitchers have their own characteristics, a really strong batter must have his own characteristics. For example, Furuya's pitching. Sawamura's pitching also Kawakami and Tampa. These pitchers have their own pitching characteristics. The unparalleled speed of the ball by Furuya. The colorful breaking ball that Sawamura has evolved due to his own physical characteristics is also one. Although Kawakami and Tampa's pitching is not as strong as their 2 characteristics, they also have their own unique characteristics. That's what makes them great pitchers. The same is true of great batters. A really powerful batter must have 2 or even 3 of the 3 aspects of swinging power, swinging speed, and contacting skills. Sawamura is not a strong batter. Although in middle school, Sawamura's bat was very fearsome and once set a record. But to be honest, Sawamura is not a strong batter. Because of his rebirth and his previous life experience, Sawamura's skills are far superior to ordinary middle school students, and even the vast majority of high school students. It is for this reason that his hit rate is so high, and he often hits home runs. But that doesn't make Sawamura a great batter, because he lacks the other 2 elements of a strong batter: powerful swinging power and fast swing speed. If Sawamura had one of these 2, he would have been a great batter. Unfortunately, due to the characteristics and development of the body itself, out of these 2, he is none of them. According to the data, Sawamura is particularly good at hitting the breaking ball. This information is of course wrong. What Sawamura is really good at are those balls with a clear path and no power. The breaking ball of the middle school students has a very clear trajectory, and Sawamura can easily distinguish it. So there are so many hits and home runs. And some pitchers who don't have a unique straight. Their straights are just as easy for Sawamura to hit. Before Kawakami's ball, the reason why Sawamura easily hit a home run was because his own ball power was not very heavy. The same goes for Tampa's curve, which can be very difficult for other batters to hit, but for Sawamura, it's his best shot. The greater the break, the less force is attached to the pitch. Now Sawamura's 2 hits are fouls. It's not because Sawamura's swing has degraded. It's just with a narrow slider, like Kawakami pitch, Sawamura is not very good at hitting. If you want the breaking ball to exert its power, it must be matched with the straight ball. To put it into fashion, Kawakami's current pitching form and rhythm are the correct opening positions for breaking ball. For Sawamura, it is impossible to distinguish between a straight ball and a breaking ball, and he certainly cannot hit the ball well. This is hard to do. With 2 strikes and 1 ball, Sawamura was chased. Here, if you want to compare the difference between Sawamura and the good batters. For a really strong batter, Kawakami's pitch is easy to resolve. With strong swinging power, you can take the ball out and even hit a home run without hitting the center of the ball. Sawamura can't do it. If he can't aim correctly, it will be difficult to hit the ball well. The batter is chased. Very good pitch, Kawakami. The 2nd and 3rd years saw that Sawamura was chased. They immediately cheered Kawakami hoarsely. In this game, the seniors team was not lightly bullied by Sawamura. It is not rude to say that their dignity as the seniors team has been completely lost. At this time, they can teach Sawamura, the leader of the juniors, a lesson. As seniors, they are very happy. On the batting zone, Sawamura smirked. He didn't expect to become a punching bag for these seniors. But don't you guys underestimate me too much? In his previous life in the major leagues, all of Sawamura's strengths and weaknesses were exposed, and he was still an indispensable batter in the team. Sawamura also has a way to deal with the ball, like Kawakami, although he doesn't like it very much. Then can only guess the ball. Sawamura's eyes dropped slightly, and his brain started to run at full speed. If the count is 2 strikes and 1 ball, with the personalities of Mayachi and Nori Senpai, the next pitch is probably that. Snap. Ball. Sawamura, who was chased by 2 strikes, did not swing the bat in the face of Kawakami's ball. The count is 2 strikes and 2 balls. Mayachi Keisuke glanced at Sawamura in surprise. Just now, Sawamura didn't move at all, and Sawamura never thought about hitting this ball. Mayachi really didn't expect that Sawamura would guess their ball allocation at this time. As far as he felt about Sawamura before, Sawamura didn't seem like a batter who could guess the ball. This guy is more troublesome than I thought. With such a feeling, Mayachi Keisuke became more cautious in his calling. On the next ball, he still had a ball. Snap. Ball. Sawamura, who was in the batting zone, remained motionless and had no intention of striking at all. Mayachi Keisuke's face suddenly changed. This pitch did not swing the bat. The count is 2 strike and 3 balls, and the count is full. Both sides are being chased at the same time. If Mayachi and Kawakami didn't plan to walk Sawamura, they would have to hit the strike zone no matter what. With the ball being guessed consecutively, Mayachi Keisuke was a little fuzzy. Fortunately, the hard training gave him confidence. Next ball, the slider on the edge of the outside corner, as Kawakami was throwing the ball. And in the strike zone, Sawamura's bat suddenly grew long. When people are forced to be the most nervous, they must choose the safest ball path. From the analysis of the previous data, I want to limit Sawamura's striking power and further solve him. The most secure ball path is the outside corner slider. At this point, Sawamura also guessed, so when he swung, his feet went straight out. In this way, the ball that was originally an outside corner turned into a mid-center pitch in Sawamura's view. Here it comes. Seeing the flying baseball, Sawamura took the opportunity to swing the bat without hesitation. Yes, Sawamura doesn't have the swinging power. But ping. In terms of skills, he already surpassed most of his peers. After being hit, the small white ball soared into the sky and disappeared from the field in a blink of an eye. 2-run home run. The total score is 18-3. Chapter 21. Kataoka's evaluation. Let's go. In the corner, Chris beckoned his father to leave. Oh, Chris, don't you say hello to your close teammates? Chris' father looked at Chris, who turned and left in confusion. Chris turned around and took a deep look at Sawamura. He pitched 7 innings and played flawlessly. But again, he must be very tired. If he shows up with Sawamura's character, he will definitely stalk him and let himself catch his pitch. Thinking of this, Sawamura's shadow even appeared in front of Chris's eyes. No, I'll report tomorrow, so let's say hello later. Now that little guy should have a good rest. And just like that, this match, which was like a battle of the century, came to an end. After the game, it was already evening, and both the juniors and the seniors were very silent. The freshmen remembered their performance in the first 2 games and felt that their worldview had been impacted. Thinking of Sawamura's performance, the seniors also lost the excitement of abusing the juniors like vegetables. After dinner, everyone went back to their bedrooms. Kuramochi and Masuko finished their extra training and went to their dormitory. That kid Sawamura was so crazy today. This guy must be so full of himself now. I have to teach him a good lesson. I can't let him be too arrogant. This is my duty as his senpai. Masuko glanced at Kuramochi and said nothing. Unhappy. Just after dinner, Kuramochi heard vaguely about Sawamura's past with the 3rd grade. Seeing Sawamura's performance so well, the 3rd-year senior may feel uncomfortable, right? Kuramochi thought. No way. Masuko Toru shook his head. It's just that the mood now is more complicated. With a pitcher like Sawamura joining us, our chances of realizing our dreams are undoubtedly much greater. Of course, this is a good thing, but the problem is that Sawamura is too strong, even stronger than Tampa. This is the reason Masuko's mood is complicated. Then I have to teach that kid a good lesson. Kuramochi said with a smile. Furuya Satoru's bedroom. Where is Furuya? A senior asked. Looks like he is out. Another answer. The two looked at each other, and in their impression, Furuya had always been a loner. After training every day, he goes back to the dormitory. Except for a few words with Sawamura and Kaminado, I usually don't go out. Why after a blockbuster today on the other side, in front of the school's vending machine? Kaminado is shopping for drinks. What? Are you running errands for the seniors? A voice suddenly came from behind him. Kaminado Haruchi turned around in astonishment, just in time to see his brother Kaminado Ryosuke. That hit today was a good one. Without waiting for Haruchi Kaminato to speak, Ryosuke Kaminato continued. The coach has seen your performance. Keep going. Having said that, Kaminato Ryosuke left in a dashing manner. Behind him, Kaminato Haruchi blushed. When Masuko and Kuramochi arrived at the dormitory, they saw Sawamura watching TV while eating pudding. Why are you so relaxed? Kuramochi immediately burst into anger. Don't be too arrogant, brat. Take my invincible scissor kick. Sawamura dodged nimbly and looked at Kuramochi for unknown reasons. Hey, I didn't do anything. What is this for? Didn't you win a senior? So what? I'll help you relax your body and relieve your muscle fatigue. No need. Sawamura stepped back again and again, but did not escape Kuramochi's clutches. Even if he lived a new life, Sawamura was still not the opponent of Kuramochi, who was a Yankee. Masuko silently looked at the little puddings he kept secretly, turning into pudding shells one by one, and was equally angry. Oga! So in the dormitory, a classic scene of a senior bullying a junior was staged. At this time, Furuya found Miyuki and wanted Miyuki to catch his pitch. Come on then. Miyuki didn't wear any armor, just squatted there, waiting to catch the ball. Is it okay not to wear armor? Furuya asked uncertainly. Don't worry, Miyuki said disapprovingly. Whoosh. Furuya was also okay with it and shot the ball directly. The pitch, which seemed to explode like a volcano, vanished in Miyuki's glove. Boom! The resounding sound of the glove catching the ball brought Furuya back to reality. Finally, he heard the ball he threw and was caught in the glove. On this day of the match, 3 people took the lead: Furuya, Sawamura, and Kaminato. Tonight, they all had different experiences. And it was also tonight that Seido's coaching staff decided where the 3 would go. Seido Baseball Club, Office of the Superintendent. The 3 heads of Seido, Coach Kataoka, Manager Oda, and Deputy Head Takashima Rei, gathered together. Sawamura-kun's performance today is really surprising. In terms of pitching, he's probably not much worse than Tampa-kun and Kawakami-kun. Oda rubbed his hands excitedly and said. Takashima Rei rolled his eyes at him and said nothing. Everyone could see that Sawamura consciously retained his strength. Oda might have known it, but he was unwilling to admit it, that Tampa and Kawakami, who had been carefully cultivated by Seido High School for so long, were not as skilled as him, especially when that person was a freshman in the first year. She set her eyes on Kataoka, waiting for Kataoka to speak. Kataoka was very happy. After watching Sawamura pitching, the smile on the corner of his mouth never stopped. Sawamura's skills are solid. Not to mention potential, in terms of pure skills, he should faintly surpass Tampa and Kawakami. For us, it is a very rare and precious combat power. If there is no accident, in this summer's competition, I want Sawamura and Tampa as the pitching main force. Kataoka's evaluation left Oda speechless. No way, surpassed Tampa-kun's strength. Today, Sawamura-kun deliberately retained his strength to cooperate with the first year and did not pitch a 2-sharp ball. This does not mean that he does not have sharper balls. And the most important thing is his experience and defense. Moreover, his strength may be greatly improved in a short time. As if thinking of something, Kataoka chuckled lightly. Starting tomorrow, Sawamura will train with the first string. If we can win the semifinals, I will arrange for him to play in the Kanto tournament. Aren't you waiting for Chris? Chris has returned. When? Today. Then it's fine. What about Furuya? Let him also train with the first string, and his straight ball may become a very good weapon. Seido tonight, because of the appearance of Sawamura and Furuya, is destined to be an exciting night. At this time, Sawamura didn't know that the senior Chris, whom he was thinking of, had returned. After saying goodbye to Masuko and Kuramochi, Sawamura left the dormitory by himself, wanted to go for a walk, and sent Wakana a message by the way. At this time, someone suddenly stopped him. Who? When Sawamura turned around, he saw several third-year seniors headed by Tetsuya. 22. Chapter 22. No King's Fight? Senpais, is there something I can help you with? Sawamura looked at Yuki Tetsuya and the others strangely, but he didn't think they were here to kick his face or something. As the seniors of Sidu, they are not so low. There is. Yuki nod. Please say. Sawamura's eyes narrowed. He hesitated for a while, but finally didn't say anything. Isashiki next to him can't stand it anymore. He has always had the temper of saying what is on his mind. Kozo, we have to settle the account 2 years ago. If you're tired today, we will not bully you. Find a time, let's play again. After Yuki, Isashiki Jun's face was very firm. Obviously, they thought about this for a long time. Ryosuke senpai, is that what you want too? Kaminato Ryosuke smiled and said nothing. His attitude was obviously to go forward and retreat with Tetsuya and Isashiki. Of course I'm fine, but are you sure you want to do this? Sawamura asked seriously. Hearing this, Yuki hesitated for a while, with a trace of struggle on his face, and finally said, Jun, Ryosuke, let's go. After speaking, he left first. Isashiki Jun and Kaminato Ryosuke chased after him puzzled. What's wrong? Didn't you say that you want to fight again no matter what? Yuki didn't answer and walked all the way to a remote corner. The coach won't agree. Why? Isashiki asked strangely. Kaminato Ryosuke suddenly laughed. Haha, I didn't expect that we would be taught this by first-year Kohai. What do they call it, no king's fight? Isashiki hates others who play dumb riddles in front of him and show his IQ. As if he, Isashiki, was a caveman. The rules in the big clubs, no king's fights. It's just that Sidu didn't have a decent pitcher for a long time, and this has been forgotten. Kaminato Ryosuke explained with a smile. The so-called no king's fight means that the strong batters in the team must not easily play against the ace in the team. Ace. Sawamura. That arrogant kid. Isashiki Jun was very upset. Sawamura had just entered the first string, and he even regarded himself as the ace. What kind of rule is that? How can the coach control such a thing? As long as he is willing to be a hitting pitcher during training, no one will say anything. No, it's not that simple. Ryosuke Kaminato said with a smile. The coach will definitely not agree. With no king's fight, unless the head coach of that team has a hole in his head, he will never let his ace play against cleanups directly. This is like the businessman with the strongest spear and the strongest shield in his hands. If he insists on letting the two collide, he will definitely lose money. If the ace and the team's strong batters play against each other, and no matter who wins the other, it is very likely to destroy the other. No matter the pitcher or the batter, they all pay attention to one state. If the person who was abused before the competition can't be in his best form, the coach will cry. Of course, this means that in the team, the ace and cleanup batters have a certain level of strength. If there is a clear gap in strength between the two sides, then of course there is no problem, and it will not have much impact on the mentality. As the captain of Sidu, when Sawamura raised this question, of course, Tetsuya must focus on the overall situation. As for the knot in his own heart, it doesn't seem so important now. It's all for the team. Yuki and the others left, but Sawamura was very troubled. He wants to slap himself and his big mouth. He could say it would be good for him to play now. Why should he talk too much? It was also Sawamura's own wish to go against the current cleanups. How can you say that and then you leave? It's too unprincipled. Seeing Yuki leave, Sawamura himself chased after him again. Senpai. They turned their heads and looked at Sawamura in confusion. Stinky boy, is something wrong? Isashiki asked angrily. What do you say about the duel? Sawamura asked with a smile. After the Yuki Tetsuya, Jun Isashiki and Kaminato Ryosuke looked at Sawamura stupidly, not understanding what he meant. Didn't they just say, let's have a duel? As soon as they turned their head, they forgot about it. Of course, the coach won't allow it, but we are fighting in private, and he doesn't know. At the right time, there will be no problem. What time is okay? Since Sawamura is not afraid, of course, there are no hesitations in Yuki. After the semi-finals of the spring tournament, isn't there no need to train on the day? Our duel is scheduled for that time. It just so happens that we all have time, and the coach will not check. But in the school, people are training everywhere. Isashiki said hesitantly, even if the main force does not need to train in the afternoon and evening, there will still be the second string, the substitutes, the third string, and the freshmen, there is no such place in Cedu. It is really clean. No matter where they fight, someone will see them. At that time, if the coach came to stop it, it would be too disappointing. There's a small stream next to the school, which is very quiet normally. Although at night, there are players from the second string who practice swinging there, but no one is there in the afternoon. Sawamura also thought about the location, and there's also a catcher to be your partner. Sawamura himself was very excited, so he would have fewer partners. Otherwise, everything would be in order. Chris is back, and he's going to play that day. You can ask him to be your catcher. Chris Shisho is back. Sawamura's face was immediately filled with surprise. Really, come to school tomorrow. You should be able to meet. His injury? Healed. Chris won't be stumped by that little injury. Chris is back, healed. For the first time since knowing that Chris was injured, Sawamura was frustrated. Knowing that Chris was injured earlier, Sawamura felt regretful. He visited Cedu a few times before, and his friendship with Chris was also forged during that time. This time, I will partner with Chris Senpai. Yuki Tetsuya just entered the 3rd grade, but was directly nominated by professional baseball. With such strength, Sawamura naturally wanted to see it. Sawamura also wanted to know what level his pitching was now. This is a good opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. For this matter, Sawamura's attention is far more than this in team battle. When Sawamura returned to the dormitory, Kuramochi and Masuko were already asleep, and he quietly got in a bed and fell down. That night, Sawamura couldn't sleep soundly no matter what. He was so excited, pitching with all his might. Ever since he had graduated from middle school, Sawamura has never done it again. 23. Chapter 23. Pitching with the new form the next day, early morning. The players of the baseball club come to the baseball club early in the morning to train. Cedu's training is very strict. They gather at 5:30 in the morning and start running at 5:40, running for 20 minutes first. This is a warm-up. After the warm-up is over, practice swinging and pitching. Match simulation exercises and fielding exercises are usually arranged in the afternoon. After the morning run this morning, Director Kataoka called everyone together. At 6 o'clock, the sky was already bright. Kataoka stood alone in front of all the Cedu players and said in a serious tone, "Listen, there are less than 3 months until the start of the summer competition. Aimless training is just a waste of time and is of no use. The first step taken to climb a hill and the first step taken to climb Mount Fuji seem to be no different on the surface. But in fact, the mentality required by the two is absolutely different. You must be clear which one that we have to climb. Only goals give your training a momentum. Improve your fighting spirit to practice. Don't neglect that. Do you understand?" Yes. The CD young players, 100 contestants, responded in unison, and the momentum seemed to shake the world. Including freshmen, there are 93 Cedu players this year. As the head coach, even if Kataoka has some background, he's also a graduate of Cedu. But he did not lead the team in Ekoshian for 5 consecutive years, and he was under great pressure. This morning, the principal and the dean came to cheer on the team, but they were actually putting pressure on Kataoka in disguise. Honestly, no wonder they. After all, they're also working for the Takashima family. And if they can't get into Koshin continuously, not to mention that Kataoka's character is not pleasing, even if it is pleasing, they will still dismiss him. Otherwise, how can they explain to the school board? In fact, secretly, they have begun to contact new coach candidates. If Kataoka can make it to Koshin this summer, there's not much to say. If not, it's his fault. I don't know if there's any hope for our players this year. The headmaster asked with a smile. Kataoka was also in good spirits. Yuki Tetsuya, Kaminato, Ryosuke, Isashiki Jun, Masuko Tu, Miyuki Kinzuya, these are all on the level of top players in the nation, and we have an unexpected harvest this year. Is that Sawamura-kun? The headmaster cheerfully said. Kataoka turned to look at him and said nothing. Sawamura-kun, please come to the dugout. Just as everyone was about to train, Sawamura heard a call coming from a small speaker. Sawamura hurriedly rushed to the dugout. He thought it was Chris who was there, but he didn't expect that Kataoka's iceberg face was waiting for him. Starting today, during morning practice, you'll be here to pitch. Yes. How dare! Sawamura refused to obey the coach's orders. Try to pitch the ball again, as you used to. Then Kataoka very patiently instructed Sawamura to pitch. Sawamura didn't know why, but he still followed the instructions of Kataoka and made a pitching form according to his own rhythm. Stride, swing, pitch, very fluid. Kataoka nodded and said, "What's your current fastest ball speed? Have you measured it?" Sawamura answered honestly, "Less than 140 kilometers per hour. Normal pitching is about 135 to 6 kilometers per hour." Kataoka said, "It really is. Now I will teach you how to pitch, but when you practice, don't use a real ball. Use a towel instead. If you throw too much, your fingers will hurt. Now look carefully." After Kataoka finished speaking, he used his hand as a wall, and then came a standard pitch. Whoosh! Like a whirlwind. Kataoka's motion made an extraordinary aura like wind. It has to be said that even though he is 30, Kataoka still retains the skills and spirit of a professional player. Even if he is in the professional field now, he could still be very effective. Sawamura was embarrassed to see such a shocking scene. He finally understood what Kataoka wanted. It was nothing more than the pleasure to teach him how to pitch. In the previous life, this pitching form was also taught to Sawamura by Kataoka. To be honest, this form helped Sawamura a lot and greatly improved Sawamura's pitching level. But now learning will not be a bit embarrassing. This posture, which Sawamura has honed in his previous life, has been perfected, and now he can use it as he pleases. It's like someone who has graduated from college, going back to elementary school and learning basic math. It's a strange feeling. But now, Sawamura couldn't say that he wouldn't do it, otherwise, he would be refusing Kataoka's kindness. In desperation, this morning, Sawamura could only obediently practice the pitching form he had already mastered by heart. High-legged, heroic stance, right-handed wall. The ball point of view is blocked, which Sawamura knew so well he could use in middle school, but he didn't otherwise he would be famous for it. There were several reasons why it didn't use it at that time. The first is that the catcher does not easily catch the ball and can't see from where the ball is released. Of course, this is not the main reason. The main reason is that such a pitching form increases Sawamura's physical exertion. Sawamura's most powerful pitching form is the high-legged pitching form, but such a big movement, especially with his fast rhythm, also increased Sawamura's physical exertion. Originally in middle school, he was able to throw 40 or 50 balls with all his strength, but it is no problem to push it to 70 balls. But with high-legged form added, Sawamura's full 30 balls will be the limit. Even if he pays attention to keeping his stamina, it will only be 50 or 60 balls. 50 or 60 pitches are far from enough in high school games. The current Sawamura, if he throws every ball with all his strength, he may not end up much better than his previous life. That's the real reason he seals this form. Now that Kataoka kindly taught him, he also unlocked this form. But this form, he already knew how to do it. Since he can, Sawamura's training will inevitably not be serious. This was quickly discovered by Kataoka. Didn't you get it? Kataoka had misunderstood, and it was no wonder he did. Based on Sawamura's current skills, Kataoka firmly does not believe that Sawamura isn't working hard. Sawamura must be working extremely hard, and the reason why he hasn't performed it well was probably because he didn't find a trick. It seems that I need to find a teacher for him. Turning around, Kataoka found the assistant coach. Where's Chris? Call Chris here, I have a task for him. Because Chris has just recovered and is now being tested, he has to be tested first before he can come. The assistant coach said. Then wait for him to come. Kataoka nodded and left. The gears of fate have already begun to turn, but the meeting between Master and Kohai was a little later than Sawamura had expected. 24. Chapter 24. Missed. When Sawamura saw Chris, his mind was blank. After Chris was injured, he deliberately rushed to Tokyo from Nagano several times to visit, but every time he felt very uncomfortable. Chris was injured in his previous life. Although Sawamura was sad, in the end, there was nothing he could do. He just felt sorry and sad for his senior. That feeling isn't easy to pass, because in this life, Chris' injury was indirectly caused by him. Even if Sawamura is not a person who likes to dwell in the past, he will not be able to pass the hurdle in his heart easily. Sure show, saying these two words, Sawamura couldn't say anything anymore. Hee hee, don't make such a morning expression. I'm not dead yet. Chris made a bad joke. Sawamura smiled sympathetically. I just came to the team, and before I could say hello to my friends, the coach dragged me over impatiently. It seems that the coach has high expectations for you. Then don't disappoint his expectations. Let's see how many weapons you have at your disposal.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.